The sun shines on the plastic track of the high school playground like a golden veil, and the air is filled with the smell of grass and sweat. Xu Feng lowered his head and shuffled over from the teaching building, holding a crumpled mathematics exercise book in his hand. The monthly exam was coming soon, and his heart seemed to be entangled in a mess that he couldn't resolve no matter how hard he tried. The classmates in the class are all studying hard. What about him? He has been unable to keep up with mathematics since elementary school. Now that he is in his second year of high school, the formulas are like a Bible that makes him dizzy. Last night I stayed up late again staring at the textbook, but my head was buzzing and I couldn't remember anything. Hey, Xu Feng, are you in a daze again? If you don't hurry up before the monthly exam, don't cry if you fail. A familiar voice came from the side. It was his best friend Junji. That guy is always like this, full of energy, like an engine that never shuts down on the playground. Junji patted Xu Feng on the shoulder with such force that he staggered. Come on, run a few laps with me, exercise, your head will be clear. Xu Feng shook his head with a wry smile and rubbed his eyes. Why are you running? My legs are as weak as noodles. Junji, you know, my math formulas are my nemesis. When the exam comes, I feel like a waste. He said, looking at the pile of old things beside the playground inadvertently. It was an abandoned corner of the school, filled with old school bags, sneakers, and broken basketballs discarded by students. Under the sun, a dusty old backpack lay there quietly. It looked a bit old, the fabric was covered with dust, but the zipper shone with a strange silver light. Trash? Are you kidding? Junji laughed and pushed him. You were born to be an athlete. Your three-pointer in the last basketball game made the whole audience scream. If you can't do well in schoolwork, you can rely on sports to improve. The sports meeting will start next month. Our class needs your hard work. Junji's words were like a stream of heat, and Xu Feng felt warm in his heart, but his inferiority still lingered like a shadow. He waved his hand, walked to the pile of old things alone, bent down and picked up the backpack. It feels surprisingly light, like it's made of air, and the straps are as soft as silk. Who lost this thing? It looks old, but it's still strong. Xu Feng murmured to himself and opened the zipper. It was empty inside, nothing special. He stuffed the math exercise book in casually, wanting to test the size. A strange thing happened. As soon as the booklet was put in, it seemed to be sucked away by an invisible whirlpool, and the inside of the backpack did not bulge. He rubbed his eyes and picked up an old discarded textbook next to him. It was physics, and the cover was yellowed. He tentatively stuffed it in. Again, the backpack was flat, as if it contained nothing. The heartbeat quickened. Xu Feng looked around. Students were playing ball in the distance on the playground, and laughter could be heard. He took a deep breath, and a crazy idea flashed through his mind. He took out his mobile phone from his pocket, searched for a video on mathematical formulas, and then imagined putting knowledge into it. Wait, that sounds ridiculous. But he still gave it a try, closing his eyes and silently reciting the quadratic equation that gave him a headache. Suddenly, the backpack trembled slightly, and a thin card slipped out from the edge of the zipper. The card says, Instant Knowledge Card, Solution to Quadratic Equations. His eyes widened, he grabbed the card, and a clear image suddenly flooded into his mind. The formula automatically assembled like a puzzle, becoming simple and clear. X superscript 2 plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0? Isn't it just x plus 2, x plus 3 equals 0, and the roots are -2 and -3? Oh my God, he got it! My confused head seemed to be lit up by a light bulb, and excitement surged from my chest, as if I had drank a cup of hot chocolate, as warm as a cup of hot chocolate. What the hell is this backpack? Xu Feng exclaimed in a low voice, and tried again with trembling hands. This time he was thinking about physical props. A flash of blue light flashed inside the backpack, and a bottle of energy drink appeared out of thin air. He unscrewed the lid and took a sip. The cool liquid slid down his throat. In an instant, he felt his fatigue dissipate and his legs and feet were full of strength. Cool! So cool! This thing is simply a gift from heaven. Can it contain unlimited learning resources and props? For someone like him who is struggling with his studies, this is the key to counterattack. Just as he was immersed in joy, Junqi's voice sounded from behind. Xu Feng, what are you doing? You are talking to yourself there, as if you were possessed. Junqi ran over and squinted at the backpack, his face full of curiosity. Hey, where did you get this old backpack? It looks like it was from my grandfather's time. Xu Feng hesitated, but Junqi was his best friend. They had grown up together and there was nothing to hide. He took a deep breath, opened his backpack and gestured, "Don't laugh, this thing is very magical. Come and watch my demonstration." He took out the knowledge card again and handed it to Junqi. "I just stuffed a math book into it, and this card came out. Now I understand quadratic equations. Really, everything is clear in my mind." Junqi took the card, looked at it over and over, and then laughed. "Ha, you are not dizzy from the heat, are you? Quadratic equations? I can't do that stuff either." But he saw Xu Feng's serious eyes, tentatively took the backpack, and stuffed a sports notebook into his own. The backpack also didn't respond. He stared wide-eyed. "Holy shit, is this true? Infinite space? Xu Feng, you found a treasure. If you use this for studying, what are you afraid of in the monthly exam?" "Exam? It's easy to abuse." Xu Feng nodded and gestured excitedly. "Not only study, but also physical tools. I drank a bottle of energy drink just now, and I feel like I can run a marathon." He handed the drink over, and Junqi took a sip, and his eyes lit up. "Wow, it's true. I'm more energetic. Xu Feng, this backpack is so lucky, the artifact of the Donghui. In our class sports meeting, you have to participate in sprinting. Imagine you are carrying this thing and replenishing your energy while running. Who can stop you? Stop feeling inferior, buddy, this is your chance. Put it all together and prove to those nerds that youth is not just about scores." Junqi's words were like a torch, igniting the blood in Xu Feng's heart. He imagined himself on the starting line, with the wind whistling by, surpassing each opponent. That feeling was so exciting. The shadow of inferiority began to fade away, replaced by unprecedented self-confidence. The two high-fived, laughing and jogging on the playground. The setting sun lengthened their shadows, and the air was filled with the smell of youthful sweat and the fragrance of grass. At night, when he returned to the dormitory, Xu Feng lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The wonders of the backpack still echoed in my mind. He took out an old notebook from the drawer. This was a habit he had developed since childhood, writing a diary. Although it was mostly complaints before, things were different tonight. He picked up the pen, and under the light, the writing quickly covered the page. October 15th, 2023. Today, I picked up a backpack that changed my destiny. It is not just a bag, but my secret weapon. Stuff it into a math book, and the formulas become simple. Take a sip of the energy drink, and my whole body feels like it is recharged. Junqi is right, this is the beginning of hard work. I am no longer the self-conscious person who takes the exam. I want to use it to prove myself. In the sports meeting, I want to be full of glory. After writing, he closed the book and felt a warm current in his heart. This is the starting point of growth, from confusion to excitement, from inferiority to longing. He touched his backpack and decided to use it to change everything tomorrow. But competition on campus never waits for anyone. The roommate in the next bed whispered, "I heard that the monthly exam papers are very difficult, and the top students in the class are all frowning. Xu Feng, you have to be careful, you can't afford to lose." Xu Feng smiled and clenched his fists. "Lose? From now on, no more." The lights on the playground were still flickering, and the night wind brought distant laughter. He knew that the battle of youth had just begun. Word count, 1287. The morning light penetrated through the gap in the dormitory curtains, like a naughty elf, and sprinkled on Xu Feng's bed. He rubbed his eyes and sat up. The excitement last night had not faded away, and the backpack was lying quietly on the bedside table, like a loyal companion. The smell of instant noodles from the roommate in the next bed floated in the air, mixed with the coolness of the morning, making him shiver. Xu Feng grabbed his backpack and gently opened the zipper, and his heartbeat began to accelerate again. Yesterday's miracle was not a dream. Today, he wanted to dig deeper into the potential of this baby. "Come on, the army of knowledge, move in," he whispered to himself, pulling out a stack of history textbooks from the bookshelf. These things trouble him the most. The timeline is like a mess. When did Qin Shi Huang unify it? Who are the 7 heroes of the Warring States period? Xu Feng closed his eyes, thinking about historical event cards in his mind, and stuffed the pages of the book into his backpack. The inside of the backpack was slightly warm, as if it was digesting food. After a moment, a stack of shiny cards slid out from the edge of the zipper. Each card was printed with vivid illustrations and keywords. Qin unified China, 221 BC, the Silk Road was opened, during the period of Emperor Wu of Han. He pulled out one, and the picture instantly flooded into his mind, the Great Wall winding like a giant dragon, the footsteps of soldiers echoed in his ears, and the smell of sweat and dust seemed to hit his face. It turns out that history is not a rigid year, but a living story. Xu Feng clenched his fists excitedly, feeling that the shackles of inferiority had loosened a little. Not satisfied with this, he dug out his English textbook. That was another pain point for him. The words sounded like alien languages and the pronunciation was always stuck. Thinking of an English conversation simulator, he stuffed the book into it. The backpack buzzed, and a small earphone appeared out of thin air. Xu Feng put it on, and a soft female voice sounded in his ears. "Hello, how are you today?" He tentatively replied, "I'm wonderful, thank you." The headset immediately corrected, "Good pronunciation. Now, let's practice ordering food." The conversation unfolded like a game. Xu Feng's tongue gradually became more flexible, and laughter couldn't help but overflow from his mouth. Outside the window, birds were chirping, and the sun was shining warmly on his arms. He felt like he was chatting with an invisible friend, and the originally boring study became extremely interesting. "Xu Feng, are you up? It's breakfast time." Juanxi's shout came from outside the door, accompanied by the banging of the door. Xu Feng quickly put away his backpack and carried it to the canteen. On the way, the sycamore leaves on the campus rustled, and students gathered in small groups to discuss last night's homework. Juanxi was waiting at the door of the cafeteria, holding 2 steamed buns in her hands. When she saw Xu Feng, she pushed one over. "Eat, buddy. Did you sleep well last night? As for the backpack, I stayed up all night, thinking about how to use it to torture the sports festival." Xu Feng took a bite of the steamed bun, the hot air hit his face, and the fragrance went straight into his nostrils. "It smells so good. I tried history and English last night, and it was amazing. The history cards made my mind full of pictures, and the English headphones were like real teachers. Juanxi, I think I can make up for my classwork, and I am no longer the weakling." He gestured as he spoke, his eyes bright. Juanxi laughed loudly and patted him on the back. "Crane tail? From today on, you are an upgraded version of Xu Feng. But don't neglect your studies. Don't miss the sports meeting training. Last night I practiced the sprint starting position. The key is explosive power. Does your backpack have physical props? Lend me a bottle of energy drink, let's practice together." The two chatted while eating, and Juanxi shared his training experience. "Remember, when starting, the center of gravity is tilted forward, like a leopard pounces on food. Don't be impatient, keep your pace and you will be able to overtake. Xu Feng, if you work hard and balance study and exercise, the glory of our class depends on you." Xu Feng nodded, feeling warm in his heart. Juanxi always does this, pushing him forward. In the past, he always avoided stress and hid in the corner playing with his mobile phone. Now, with a backpack, he wants to face it proactively. After breakfast, they separated, and Xu Feng went straight to the study room. The air in the classroom is stuffy, mixed with the scent of chalk dust and ink from books. The students were immersed in writing, and the rustling of pencils could be heard all the time. Xu Feng found a corner to sit down and took out the math knowledge card from his backpack. The simulated test questions came into view, a bunch of quadratic function images. He took a deep breath and recited the formula silently. The image in his mind became clear, and he quickly drew a parabola on the paper to find the vertex and intersection point. Simple. After he finished solving one question, he moved on to another, while the students around him were still frowning and scratching their hair. "Hey, Xu Feng, why are you so fast? I've been stuck on this question for half an hour." Xiao Wei, the girl next to her, turned her head, her eyes widened with surprise. Her pen was still in midair, and her cheeks were slightly red, like an apple blown by the wind. Xu Feng smiled, feeling refreshed, like drinking an ice-cold soda, with bubbles rising straight up. "Oh, I took a few glances last night and remembered it. Come on, let me explain it to you." He leaned over and explained the formula softly, his voice steady and no longer stuttering. Xiao Wei listened intently and nodded from time to time. "Wow, you explained it so clearly. Weren't you the worst in math before? Did you counterattack?" Several classmates around them also came over, their eyes changing from suspicion to admiration. Xu Feng felt heat in his chest. For the first time, he was not pitied, but envied. The thrill of counterattack is like the wind on the playground, blowing away all the haze. He thought to himself, the backpack is not just a tool, it is helping me regain my confidence. Just as I was feeling refreshed, the classroom door opened and class teacher Xu Wei walked in. The tall figure, wearing thin-framed glasses, walked steadily, like a gust of wind that cannot be ignored. The air suddenly solidified, and the students all raised their heads. Xu Wei glanced at the whole class, and her voice was clear but dignified. "Students, the monthly exam papers will be distributed tomorrow. Don't think that I don't know that some people are still fishing. Xu Feng, you just passed math last time. If you don't work hard this time, you will be responsible for the consequences." Her eyes were locked on Xu Feng, as sharp as a laser. Xu Feng's heart tightened, his palms became sweaty, and the shoulder straps of his backpack seemed a little heavier. There were whispers in the class, some people snickered, and he felt his face burning like fire. Xu Wei's words touched his sore spot. Examinations have been his nightmare since he was a child. But he took a deep breath, raised his head, and looked directly at the teacher. "Teacher, I know. I will work hard and I won't let you down this time." Although the voice was small, it was firm. Xu Wei was stunned for a moment and nodded. "Okay, have an attitude. Remember, stress is a catalyst for growth. Come to my office after class and talk about your study plan." After the self-study, Xu Feng went to the office. Xu Wei's desk was piled with test papers, and the bitter aroma of coffee filled the air. She pushed up her glasses. "Xu Feng, sit down. Your diary, I heard that you have a habit of writing. Are you stressed about exams? Tell me, where does your low self-esteem come from?" Xu Feng hesitated and said, "I haven't been able to keep up with math since I was a child. I always feel that I am not good at it. Escape has become a habit." Xu Wei nodded, and her tone became softer. "Escape will only make the problem bigger. Face it, write it down, and reflect. This is the first step of growth. Go ahead and prove it with actions." When Xu Feng walked out of the office, his heart was churning. The nervousness was still there, but the help of the backpack gave him hope. When he returned to the dormitory, Junshi was already waiting, and the two went to the playground to practice. The sun was setting, dust was flying on the track, sweat was sliding down my forehead, and the salty taste spread in my mouth. Junshi shouted while running, "Hang on. Studying is important, exercise can strengthen the mind." Xu Feng panted, feeling the energy in his body boiling. He took out a small bottle of recovery drink from his backpack. After drinking it, his fatigue receded like a tide. But after using it several times, he suddenly felt dizzy and his vision was blurred, as if the battery was overloaded. Junshi supported him. "What's wrong? You look so bad." Xu Feng leaned on the railing and gasped, "The backpack has been used too much, and it can't hold it anymore. My body is protesting." Junshi frowned. Fool, everything has its limits. Don't be greedy, this thing is a boost, not a panacea. Let's take a rest and take our time. Good balance, learning and exercising at the same time is the best way. It was late at night, Xu Feng was lying on the bed, the lights were dim, and the snoring of his roommate could be heard in the dormitory. He took out his diary and the tip of his pen rustled on the paper. October 16, 2023. Today I explored more functions of the backpack. History and English are no longer enemies. In the study room, the surprised eyes of my classmates gave me the first taste of the sweetness of counterattack. Teacher Shuhui's reminder was like a wake-up call, poking my weakness. The root of inferiority complex is avoidance since childhood. If you fail in an exam, you hide and don't dare to face it. But now, I want to change. If you overuse your backpack and feel dizzy, this is a reminder, growth does not rely on external force, but inner exploration. When pressure comes, I stop running away and take the initiative to meet it. Tomorrow, the monthly exam papers will be distributed, and I will use the knowledge cards to fight to the end. Xu Feng, you can do it. After writing, he closed the notebook. Fatigue hit him, but he felt much more relaxed. Outside the window, the moonlight shines in, the playground lights are still on, and the faint sound of footsteps running at night can be heard. The small crisis reminded him that the road to youth is never smooth sailing. He closed his eyes, and the scene of tomorrow's hair curling appeared in his mind. His heart beat faster, but it was no longer pure fear, but mixed with anticipation. The battle has just begun. The bell in the classroom rang, like a brisk drumbeat, announcing the end of self-study. Xu Feng closed the textbook, with the historical knowledge cards given to him in his backpack still echoing in his mind. Those stories from the Warring States period flashed before his eyes like old movies. He rubbed his temples. The dizziness from last night still had some lingering effects, but today he learned to be smart. He used his backpack with no more than 3 cards at a time, and paired them with his own review. There are only 2 days left for the monthly exam, and the air is filled with tension. The students' pen tips are flying on the paper, occasionally mixed with a few sighs. Xu Feng took a deep breath, picked up his backpack and walked to the playground. Junshi sent a message last night saying that the track and field team had preliminary training today and he had to go take a look. Balancing study and sports was a new challenge, but he felt faintly excited, as if he was holding a trump card. On the playground, the sun was dazzling, and the flags beside the track were flapping in the wind. The members of the track and field team have gathered, and Junshi stands at the front, wearing sports shorts, sweat glistening on his forehead, like a layer of oil. As soon as he saw Xu Feng, he strode over and put his arm on his shoulder. Come on, come on. Xu Feng, I told the coach that you have potential. Join us, there is a shortage of people in the sprint event of the sports meeting. Don't hesitate, this is your stage. Think about that backpack, we two will be invincible together. Xu Feng paused, feeling as if he had been stumbled over a pebble. Join the track team? In the past, he was always a bystander, watching Junshi and the others running on the track, while he hid in the stands and ate melon seeds. Inferiority is like an old scar, aching. He looked down at his running shoes, and the smell of dirt hit his nose. Junshi, can I do it? I haven't stabilized my studies yet, will exercise hold me back? I got dizzy last time during practice. What if I make a fool of myself and the whole class laughs at me? There was hesitation in his voice, and the wind blew and the leaves rustled, as if mocking his timidity. Junshi stopped and turned to look directly at him, his eyes full of seriousness. Hold up. Brother, did you forget yesterday's study room? The classmates all convinced you to lecture. The same goes for sports, starting from small steps. The team is not monsters, they are all high school students like you. Come and try. If you lose, it is mine. If you win, it is your glory. Isn't youth about exploration? Don't let inferiority complex tie you down. He patted Xu Feng's back hard, like an encouraging rhythm. The surrounding players turned to look over, and someone waved and shouted, "New here? Come and warm up. Junshi said you are good at basketball, and you must be good at running too." Xu Feng's heart felt hot. Junqi's words were like sunshine, melting the ice. He nodded and raised the corners of his mouth. Okay, give it a try. Join. As soon as he finished speaking, the team members burst into cheers, and the air was filled with youthful vitality. The coach blew the whistle to assemble, and everyone gathered in a circle and began to warm up. Xu Feng followed the stretching movements, and his muscles were slightly stretched, causing slight soreness. He secretly took out a small bottle from his backpack, the endurance capsule loaded into it last night. The bottle is small and the capsule is as crystal clear as dewdrops. He swallowed one and felt a warm current spreading from his stomach, like drinking hot soup, and his whole body became lighter. The training begins with a 400-meter cycle run. The team members lined up and the starting line was filled with dust. The coach shouted, "Ready, run!" Junqi was the first to rush out, like an arrow leaving the string. Xu Feng followed behind. At first it was okay and his steps were steady, but by the second lap, his chest was on fire, he was panting, and his vision began to blur. Sweat slid down his cheeks, and a salty taste seeped into his mouth. Shaoli, a tall team member next to him, gasped and said, "Hang on, newcomer. It's like this on the first day." Xu Feng gritted his teeth and thought, "No, we can't give up halfway." The effect of the capsule gradually takes effect, warmth flows into the hands and feet, and fatigue is blown away by the wind. He adjusted his breathing, leaned forward, and quickened his pace. The wind roared in my ears, and the red line of the runway flew under my feet. On the third lap, he actually caught up with Shaoli. On the fourth lap, when he crossed the finish line, his whole body felt like an electric current was passing through him, and he felt so happy. "Wow, Xu Feng! Where did your explosive power come from?" Shaoli stopped, bent down and propped up his knees, looking at him with admiration. Junqi ran over, hugged Xu Feng, and smiled from ear to ear. "Let me tell you. You are hiding. From panting to the final sprint, he is so handsome." Teammates, applaud him. The surrounding team members gathered around, and someone handed him a water bottle. "Drink water, you are awesome." The newcomer ran the whole race directly. At the sports meeting, "You are our backbone." Applause and laughter intertwined, and everyone's faces were shining with sweat in the sun, like a passionate painting. Xu Feng gasped and took the water. The cold water slid down his throat, relieving the heat. He was overwhelmed with emotion. It turns out that the challenge is not a monster, but an opportunity. In the past, his inferiority complex held him back, but now, this small victory was like a fire, igniting the courage in his heart. He patted Junqi on the shoulder. "Thanks, buddy. Without your push, I would still be hesitant. Joining the track and field team is the right start." At the end of the training, the sunset lengthened the shadows, and the playground was filled with the smell of grass and sweat. Xu Feng and Junqi walked back to the teaching building side by side. Junqi said while wiping his sweat, "How do you feel? Is the atmosphere in the team good?" Shaoli and the others are very enthusiastic. "Next time you practice relay, you and I will team up and we will definitely beat the opponent's class." Xu Feng nodded and couldn't hide his smile. "Okay, exciting. But the monthly exam is still ahead of me, so I have to keep my balance. The backpack helps me hold on, otherwise I would have fallen down. The secret weapon, haha, remember, the team is not responsible for each other. When the pressure comes, talk to me." The next day, during the morning break, Teacher Shui called Xu Feng to the corridor. The sunlight streamed in from the window and shone on her serious face, softening it a bit. She held a notebook and said in a low but warm voice, "Xu Feng, during yesterday's self-study, I heard Xiaowei say that your lecture was very clear and logical. It has changed a lot. Come, sit down and chat." The corridor was full of people, and classmates hurried past, mixed with laughter. Xu Feng sat down, his heart beating slightly faster. "Teacher, I am working hard. Memorizing is not. I used some new methods, and the review is smooth." Shui nodded and pushed up her glasses. "I can tell. You used to lower your head, but now your eyes are brighter. Are you stressed?" The monthly exam papers are issued in the afternoon, and many people panic. You have the habit of writing a diary, right? Don't just record things, remember your thoughts. Admit your inferiority, and start writing from small achievements. This can help you face tension, like unloading a burden. She handed over a booklet. The cover was blue and smooth to the touch. Try, remember one small thing every day. Growth is not overnight, it is reflection step by step. Go ahead, I believe in you. Xu Feng took the booklet, his palms sweating slightly. Shuhui's words were like a mirror, reflecting his heart. In his previous diary, he mostly complained about failing exams and envied others. Now, he wants to remember his victories. In the afternoon, when the exam papers were handed out, the air in the classroom was solemn, like before a storm. The teacher walked in with a stack of test papers in his hand, and Xu Feng's heart beat like a drum. The palms of my hands are moist, formulas and historical events flash through my mind, and the cards in my backpack are like guardians. He took a deep breath and told himself, face it, this is growth. The paper was handed to my hand, and the math problems came into view: quadratic equations, function images, all familiar. Xu Feng's hand holding the pen became steady and he began to answer. Junshi next to him whispered, hold on, buddy. You can do it. Time passed by and sweat dropped, but his mind was clear and the tip of his pen was flying. When he handed in the paper, he felt much lighter, like a heavy burden had been lifted off him. Xiaowei turned around and blinked. Xu Feng, you are super stable today. Let's celebrate together after the exam. After school, Xu Feng went back to the dormitory alone. The afterglow of the setting sun shone into the room. The dormitory was empty, and my roommates were still on the playground. He took out the diary and Shuhui's booklet, and under the light, the handwriting was neat. October 17, 2023. The monthly exam papers are issued, and my heart beats like a drum. In the past, my mind went blank when I saw the test papers, and my inferiority complex was like a chain, dragging me down. Since I couldn't keep up with math since I was a child, I felt like a loser, hiding in the corner, envious of Junshi's self-confidence. Today is different. The backpack helps me carry knowledge, but what really changes is my heart. During track and field training, I went from out of breath to finishing the whole race, and my teammates' the applause is like warm wind blowing away the haze. Joining the team was the first time I took the initiative to embrace a challenge instead of running away from it. Small achievements. I gave the lecture to Xiaowei, and she told me that I knew it clearly. I kept running in Junshi's smiling face. Teacher Shuhui's words are right, and reflection made me see clearly, inferiority complex is the past, and now is the starting point. After the exam is over, I want to remember this feeling, nervous but powerful. Xu Feng, you are growing, keep moving forward. After writing, he closed the book, his chest felt warm. Outside the window, the whistle of training came from the playground, mixed with laughter. Friendship is like a pillar, pressure is like a touchstone. He touched his backpack and decided to continue practicing running tomorrow. The monthly exam results haven't come out yet, but the inner transformation has given him hope for a comeback. As night fell and the campus lights dimmed, he knew that the struggle of youth was accelerating. The bell in the classroom rang, like a brisk alarm bell, reminding me that the monthly exam was approaching. Xu Feng raised his head from his seat in the study room. The sycamore leaves outside the window rustled in the autumn wind, casting mottled light and shadow. He rubbed his eyes and stayed up until midnight last night, loading chemistry and biology knowledge cards in his backpack. Those molecular structure images now came alive in his mind, spinning like a 3D model, and the combining process of oxygen and hydrogen was as clear as watching a cartoon. The miracle of the backpack made his learning progress soar like a rocket. In the past, he could finish a chapter in a week, but now he can clear a subject in a day. The air was filled with the scent of ink from the pages of the book and the whispers of his classmates. He felt like he was accelerating on a track, with the wind whistling past his ears. Xu Feng, let me borrow your notes and look at the chemistry part. Xiaowei came over, her eyes shining with help. Her hair smelled faintly of shampoo, mixed with the stuffy heat of the classroom. Xu Feng was stunned for a moment, then handed over the notebook, feeling a warm feeling in his heart. Who would have borrowed his notes before? Now, he has become a resource library. Oh, here is the reaction formula of the carbon chain. Remember, alkanes burn when exposed to oxygen to produce CO2 and H2O. He pointed while speaking, his voice steady. Xiaowei nodded like crazy. How did you become so good? The counterattack before the monthly exam is so inspiring. Several classmates around them also poked their heads over, and their whispers turned into a hum of envy. Xu Feng smiled, and an inner monologue flashed through. It feels so good, like crawling out of the mud and finally seeing the sun. But he didn't let up. During self-study in the afternoon, he took out a few more preview cards from his backpack, Newton's laws of physics and formulas of mechanics. As soon as I got the card, images flooded into my mind, an apple falling from a tree, Newton's inspiration, and formulas automatically fitting together like a puzzle. F equals horse, gravity equals mass times acceleration. He tried to write silently, and the pen tip flew on the paper without any jamming. The backpack not only contains knowledge, but also acts like a mentor, helping him prepare for the test points and turning his original panic into control. As the sun set, he closed his book, picked up his backpack and walked to the playground. Track and field training cannot be left behind. Junshi sent messages 3 times last night to remind him, don't just study, your legs must be strengthened. On the playground, dust rose underfoot, and the setting sun lengthened the shadows of the team members. As soon as Junshi saw him, he waved and shouted, Xu Feng. Come, warm up and run 2 laps. The coach said, you and I will be in the same team for the sports meet relay race. The key is tacit understanding. The team members formed a circle, and someone handed over the water bottle. The air was filled with the fresh smell of sweat and lawn. Xu Feng nodded, swallowed an endurance capsule, and felt warmth flow throughout his body. He followed the team with brisk steps, and the wind blew across his face, bringing a slight chill. The first round was fine, but starting from the second round, the muscles began to protest, like a stretched rubber band. But he gritted his teeth and persisted, recalling in his mind the physical knowledge instilled in the backpack, breathing rhythm, inflating the abdomen when inhaling, and exerting force when exhaling. On the 3rd lap, he actually accelerated and overtook Xiaoli. When he crossed the finish line, his whole body felt like an electric shock, and he felt a sense of pleasure rushing straight to his forehead. Hey, the newcomer is good. Xiaoli gasped and patted him on the shoulder, as hard as applause. But not far away, a senior player, a Chan, walked over with a frown, the muscles in his arms bulging like iron. He squinted his eyes and looked at Xu Feng. Junshi, you want to recruit this kid into the team? He was out of breath in the last training. Can he be relied on at the sports meeting? Our class can't lose to the next door, don't hold us back. There was doubt in his voice, like a bucket of cold water being poured on him. The surrounding team members were quiet for a few seconds before Junshi jumped out, Qiang, don't look down on others. Xu Feng is talented and he ran the entire race yesterday. Hard work is not based on appearance, but on the heart. Xu Feng's heart tightened, and the shadow of inferiority reappeared, but he took a deep breath and looked directly at Qiang. I admit that I am a rookie, but I am practicing. Give me a chance and I will prove it to you at the sports meeting. Qiang snorted and turned away, but his eyes softened a bit. Small turning points are like pebbles dropped into water, causing ripples, making Xu Feng more alert. Doubt is not an enemy, but a spur. He clenched his fists and thought, you can't just rely on your backpack, you have to rely on your own self-discipline. On the day of the monthly exam, the air in the classroom seemed to freeze, and when the bell rang, everyone was like a taut string. Xu Feng sat in his seat, his palms were slightly sweaty, and his heartbeat was beating like a drum. The sun was shining brightly outside the window, but it couldn't shine into his nervousness. The teacher walked in with a thick stack of test papers in his hand, and his footsteps tapped on the floor. Classmates, let's begin. Mathematics, 90 minutes. After handing out the test paper, Xu Feng took a deep breath and turned to the first page. Quadratic equations, function graphs, and geometric proofs are all test points for backpack previews. But at that moment, there was still a buzz in my mind, and the pen hung in the air, as if it was being held by an invisible hand. Junshi next to him whispered, "Steady, buddy, think about your secret weapon." Xu Feng closed his eyes and silently recited, "Quadratic equation, x plus 2, x plus 3, equals 0. The formulas injected from the backpack came flooding in, as clear as if they were engraved in my mind. He tightened his grip on the pen and began to answer. The first question is to solve the roots, the second question is to draw the picture. At first, my fingers were still shaking, and beads of sweat slid down the paper, blurring the writing. But gradually, the rhythm stabilized, and the formula unfolded automatically, proving that the logic of each step was strict. The crisis was resolved. From nervous breathing to calm flying pen, the sense of accomplishment surged into my heart like a heat wave. For the last question, solid geometry, he recalled the 3D perspective of the card and easily found the volume. When he handed in the paper, he let out a deep breath and felt relaxed, as if a heavy burden had been lifted off him. Xiao Wei turned around and blinked. "You are amazing today. Your face lights up." After the exam, the bell rang, students rushed out, and the classroom erupted in relaxed laughter. Xu Feng picked up his backpack and walked to the playground. Junshi was already waiting there, leaning on the railing and gnawing on an apple, juice dripping down his chin. "How was it? Did you fail the test?" Junshi threw an apple and smiled. Xu Feng caught it, took a bite, and the crispy and sweet taste exploded in his mouth. "It didn't happen. I was panicked at first, but then I got it right. Looking back on all the formulas, I feel like a top student." He gestured as he spoke, and his excitement was palpable. Junshi laughed and patted him on the back. "I knew it. Now, let's talk about the sports meeting. Relay strategy, you are responsible for the second baton, and you are very explosive. That boy Aqiang doubts you? Humph, slap him in the face with his strength. We practiced passing the baton, and we have perfect tacit understanding." Imagine, the whole audience cheered during the sprint, and the blood of youth was on fire. Junshi's eyes were as bright as stars, and he danced, and his passionate words were like torches, igniting Xu Feng's fighting spirit. He nodded and clenched his fists. "Okay, I promise to go all out. Not just for myself, but for the team. What's the point of questioning? Hard work proves everything." The two high-fived, and the wind blew through the playground, bringing distant whistles. Friendship was like a pillar, making him more determined. In the afternoon, in Teacher Shui's office, the bitter aroma of coffee filled the air, and the table was piled with test papers. She pushed up her glasses, looked at Xu Feng's homework, and raised the corners of her mouth slightly. "Xu Feng, sit down. In this quiz, mathematics has improved rapidly from passing to 85 points. How did you do it? Don't hide it." Her voice was stern but warm, like hot tea in winter. Xu Feng sat down. The wooden chair felt cool to the touch. He hesitated. "Teacher, I used a new method to review more systematically. The pressure is still there, but I won't run away." Shui nodded and handed over his homework. "Okay, this is the starting point. Keep writing in your diary. Don't just remember the story. What is the change from panic to calmness during the exam? Write it down and reflect on self-discipline. Be it a backpack or a tool, the heart is the mirror, don't rely on external things." Her words were like a golden needle, piercing Xu Feng's heart. He thought of the dizziness during training and the blank space in the exam. Yes, the backpack is a boost, but self-discipline is the foundation. From dependence to independence, this is transformation. He nodded solemnly. "Thank you, teacher, I can write. When the monthly exam results come out, I want to be more stable." At night, the lights in the dormitory are dim and the snoring of my roommates is like background music. Xu Feng lay on the bed, took out his diary and Shui's booklet, and his pen tip rustled on the paper. The night breeze blows gently outside the window, bringing the scent of grass from the playground. October 18th, 2023. The monthly exam is over, and the heartbeat goes from beating to steady. The transformation is like a roller coaster, exciting and liberating. At the beginning, as soon as the test paper is handed out, my hands are shaking like a sieve, and I feel inferior. What if it fails again? But the formula in the backpack comes to the rescue, and when the quadratic equation is solved, the sense of accomplishment is overwhelming, like winning a small battle. From nervousness to calmness, it is not luck, but the accumulation of previews. Junxi's strategic discussion, passionate you have to set me on fire, Aqiang's doubts. That was my motivation to prove. Teacher Shui is right, the backpack is a mirror, reflecting my dependence. In the past, I relied on it to avoid stress. Now, I need to be self-disciplined and focus on learning and training. Tool-assisted, mentality-led. This is growth, from the outside to the inside. Small achievements, the exam goes well, and teammates look forward to it. Xu Feng, persevere and turn the campus around, right before your eyes. After writing, he closed the book, his chest felt warm. The trajectory of growth becomes clear, like footprints on a runway, moving forward step by step. The monthly exam results haven't come out yet, but the fire in my heart is already burning brightly. In the night, the campus lights flickered. He closed his eyes and thought of the sports meeting field. Expectations and challenges were intertwined. The struggle of youth was gaining momentum. The morning fog on the playground has not cleared yet, and the air is mixed with the scent of moist grass and the smell of steamed buns from the distant canteen. Xu Feng ran out of the dormitory with the mysterious backpack on his back, as if a small motor was installed in his heart, whirring non-stop. The monthly exams have ended 2 days ago, and the results haven't been announced yet, but that sense of calm is still lingering in his chest, making him no longer sleepy at night like before. Now, his focus turns to the games. They start next week and the track and field team's training is already in full swing. Junxi sent a bombardment of messages last night. Brother, come early. Don't be late for relay practice today. Xu Feng smiled and quickened his pace. Students were in groups on campus, carrying school bags and discussing the exams. Some sighed, some secretly rejoiced. The vitality of youth filled every corner like morning light. He found a secluded shade spot and took out a few old sports magazines from his backpack. They were found in the library, and they were full of track and field skills and nutritional information. He closed his eyes and meditated, load professional training items. The backpack trembled slightly, and a small blue bottle slipped out from the edge of the zipper. The label read, Speed Enhancer, increase explosive power by 30%, lasts for 1 hour. It feels cool to the touch, like an iced drink. He tried again, stuffing in a book about running postures, and spit out a pair of lightweight running shoes, with soles so elastic that it felt like he was stepping on clouds. Xu Feng's heartbeat quickened and he held the bottle tightly. Wouldn't this thing be even more powerful when used in training? But he remembered Teacher Shui's words that tools are auxiliary and must be tempered by oneself. Don't be greedy for too much, otherwise you will shoot yourself in the foot like you did when you got dizzy last time. The meeting point of the track and field team is already bustling. The team members are stretching on the side of the track, sweating and laughing. As soon as Junxi saw him, he strode up to meet him and put his arm around him. Xu Feng. You are finally here. Look, that boy Aqiang is still doubting you. Come and introduce me, this is the captain Xiaoming, a senior in high school and a master sprinter. Xiaoming turned around, he was not tall but strong, and smiled. He stood up and showed his white teeth. Listen to Junxi bragging about your extravagance, let's see what you are really capable of today. I am in the next class at the sports meet, and their ace Li Hao is super fierce and the last champion. We have to practice tacit understanding. Xu Feng nodded, feeling the warmth of integration rising from the bottom of his heart. In the past training, he was always on the fringes. Now, everyone's eyes are full of expectations, like an invisible push. The training begins with a warm-up run. Xu Feng followed the team and gradually became more steady. The wind blew past his ears, bringing with it the fragrance of sycamore leaves beside the playground. He swallowed a small sip of the speed enhancer, not all of it, just leave some room. The liquid slid across the throat, and the coolness instantly turned into heat, rushing into the hands and feet. The muscles were like awakened beasts, full of elasticity. Junshi shouted from the side, "Lean the center of gravity forward and swing the arms." "Xu Feng, how do you feel?" Xu Feng gasped and replied, "It's so exciting. It's like stepping on a Hot Wheel." The team members laughed, and Aqiang also came over and patted him on the shoulder. "Boy, don't brag. Next, practice passing the bat. You take the second shot, and the one who takes my first shot, hold on." The air was filled with the salty smell of sweat and the smell of the rubber track. Everyone's footsteps were like drums, and the campus vitality exploded at this moment. The simulated race is the highlight of today, divided into 2 teams, small teams relay, each person runs 100 meters. Xu Feng's team includes Junshi, Aqiang and Shaoli, and his opponents are other team members. The coach blew the whistle, "Ready, run." Aqiang rushed out with his first stick, piercing the air like an arrow, and the wind whistled by. Xu Feng was on the starting line, his heart beating like thunder, beads of sweat sliding down his forehead, and his eyes locked on the baton coming from him. As soon as he got the stick, he felt that the cells in his body were boiling, and the enhancer was at full effect. With a push of the soles of my feet, the runway flew before my eyes, and the red line was like lightning. He adjusted his breathing, his arms swinging like pistons, the wind roared in his ears, and the soreness of his muscles was covered up by the strength. He was originally expected to be in the middle of the pack, but he exceeded expectations. When Shaoli took over in the 3rd round, he had already opened up a distance of 5 meters. Junshi made the last push and roared to speed up. At the finish line, the whole team crossed the finish line, 2 seconds faster than expected. Win. "Xu Feng, your second shot just flew up." Junshi was the first to rush over, hugging him and spinning around, sweat splashing on his face, which was hot. Aqiang's eyes widened and he patted him on the back. "Boy, I was wrong about you. Where did that explosive power come from? With you in the team, the sports meeting will be stable." Shaoli handed over the water bottle and smiled so hard that his eyes curled up. "I trust you, buddy. That overtaking just now was so cool." Applause and cheers rang out, and the team members gathered in a circle and high-fived in celebration. Xu Feng panted, and the blood in his chest surged, as if he had drank a cup of spicy soup, and it rushed straight to his forehead. From the edge to the core, this victory is not just a score, it is a bridge of trust. The friendship deepened at this moment, and Junshi's eyes were full of pride. "See you? The team is not carried alone, everyone burns together." The passion climaxed like a tide. Xu Feng thought to himself, "This is youth, finding belonging through hard work." Just as I was enjoying myself, there was a sound of ridicule not far away. Li Hao from the next class passed by the playground with a few team members. He was tall and had fake sports armbands tattooed on his arms. He looked cool. He squinted his eyes and looked over, and his voice was loud enough for the whole audience to hear. "Hey, the track and field team is playing house. I heard that you have a new rookie, a nerd who is still struggling in the monthly exam. Don't go home crying at the sports meeting." His followers burst into laughter, and the air suddenly solidified. Junshi's face darkened and he clenched his fists. "Li Hao, stop being so arrogant. You won last time because of luck. This time Xu Feng, will torture you without any discussion." Li Hao snorted, turned around and walked away, but there was provocation in his eyes, like dropping a bomb. The team members began to discuss, and Aqiang whispered, "That kid really deserves a beating. Xu Feng, don't be angry, prove it to them." Xu Feng felt angry, but it was not anger, but fighting spirit. He nodded. "Don't worry, we will see the truth through sports. This provocation is our fuel." In the afternoon, the class meeting bell rang, and the air in the classroom became lively. Students were pushing and shoving to find seats. The sunlight outside the window shone in, making the blackboard shine. Teacher Shui walked in, holding a stack of materials, and said in a clear voice, "Students, the monthly exam is over, are you relieved? But pressure is not the end, but the starting point. Today's class meeting will talk about facing pressure. Who will share?" The classroom was quiet for a few seconds, and Xiaowei raised her hand. "Teacher, I didn't do well in the exam, and I feel stuck." Several classmates echoed, some talked about inferiority, and some complained about competition. Xu nodded and glanced at the whole class. "Xu Feng, you have changed a lot recently. Come up and talk about it. I heard that your diary is well written. Please share the excerpts for everyone to listen to." Xu Feng's heart tightened and he stood up, his palms sweating slightly. All eyes in the class turned to him, and someone whispered, "Xu Feng? The one who used to be at the end of the crane." He took a deep breath, took out the diary booklet from his pocket, and said in a steady voice, "Teacher, classmates, I used to have a very low self-esteem. When the exam came, my mind went blank and I hid and complained. In the diary, I wrote, inferiority is a chain, dragging me down. But recently, I have changed. It's not genius, it's hard work. Like track and field training, from panting to finishing the race, learning, from panic to stability. There is a sentence in the diary, growing up is not overnight, it is reflection step by step. Friendship gives me a push, and the team gives me strength. The pressure is still there, but I won't run away. Our class is a team, we work together, winning or losing in the monthly exam is not important, youth is a process." After he finished reading, the classroom burst into applause. Xiaowei's eyes lit up. "Xu Feng, you are so inspiring. I thought you could only play, but I didn't expect it to be so deep." A boy in the back row nodded. "Yes, I also have low self-esteem. Listening to you, I don't feel alone anymore." The misunderstanding was resolved, and the class seemed to be connected by a warm current, and the cohesion was instantly improved. Xu smiled. "Okay, Xu Feng, sharing is a mirror. Remember, pressure is the catalyst, and friendship is the backing." The meeting is over. After school, Xu Feng and Junxi were walking back to their dormitory. The sunset stretched their shadows and the lights on the campus gradually turned on. Junxi put his arm around, "Brother, today's class will be cool. Li Hao's provocation, let's fight back with our strength. The friendship level is full, you and I have been together since childhood, and now more people in the team support you." Xu Feng laughed, with a warm heart, "Yes, loneliness and low self-esteem made me close up. Now, the team relies on each other, like home. We have grown up, thank you." The two high-fived, and the wind blew, bringing whistles from the playground in the distance. Challenges are approaching, but the heart is no longer fearful. At night, the lights in the dormitory are dim, and the chatter of roommates is like the background. Xu Feng lay on the bed, took out his diary, and the tip of the pen rustled. October 20th, 2023. The monthly exam results have not yet come out, but I turned to the sports meeting. The props in the backpack made the training even more powerful. I won the simulation competition, and Aqiang's trust was like blood injection. From the edge to the core, it was cool. Li Hao's provocation was a spur, not a stumbling block. The class meeting shared the diary, the eyes of the classmates changed from misunderstanding to recognition, and the class became heated. Reflection on friendship. In the past, I had low self-esteem and was lonely, hiding in a shell. Now, Junxi's push and teammates' applause make me rely on the team. This is a transformation, from one person carrying it to everyone burning it together. Xu Feng, you are getting stronger, and the reversal of youth is just around the corner. After writing, he closed the book and his chest felt relaxed. The stars twinkled outside the window, and the footsteps of the sports meeting could be heard faintly. He closed his eyes, and the glory of the stadium came to his mind. Challenges are like the wind, growth is like a sail, and the fate of the campus is waiting to be reversed. The campus bell echoed in the morning mist, like a brisk drumbeat, waking up the sleeping playground. Xu Feng rushed out of the dormitory with the mysterious backpack on his back. The air was filled with dew and the scent of fried dough sticks from the breakfast stall in the distance. After he finished writing his diary last night, his mind was filled with images of the sports meeting, the tension at the starting line, the acceleration of the wind whistling in his ears, and the cheers at the finish line. The monthly exam results were announced today, but he didn't have time to think too much. The track and field team's morning training had already begun, and Junxi sent a bombardment of messages last night. come early, don't let Qiang call you a wimp. Xu Feng quickened his pace, the sycamore leaves rustled on the campus path, and the sunlight came out of the gaps between the trees and sprinkled on his shoulders, like a layer of gold dust. He touched his backpack and thought, this secret weapon must be used well. You must not fall behind in learning, and you must work harder in training. If you are balanced, your youth will not be wasted. Beside the playground, the team members were already warming up, their sweat glistening in the morning light. Juanqi waved his hand and shouted, Xu Feng. If you are 1 minute late, you will be punished by running an extra lap. He was wearing a sports vest, with bulging veins on his arms, like a little warrior. Xu Feng ran over with a smile and gasped, forgive me, buddy. I reviewed the biomolecule drawings until midnight last night and my brain was dizzy. Juanqi patted him on the shoulder, as hard as applause. Review? Don't be distracted before the monthly test scores come out. Practice explosive power today and start sprinting. Do you have any new items in your backpack? Lend me a bottle. My legs feel as soft as noodles. Xu Feng blinked and said in a low voice, yes, don't be greedy. I tried it yesterday and it made me dizzy. It's better to use it in a balanced way. The training kicked off with repeated 50-meter sprints. As soon as the coach's whistle sounded, Qiang was the first to rush out, his footsteps like thunder. Xu Feng was at the back. His heartbeat was racing. He secretly took out the capsule from his backpack and swallowed one. Warmth flowed through his body instantly, like electricity activating his muscles. He squatted down, leaned forward, and prepared. Run! The wind howled, the red line of the runway flew under my feet, beads of sweat were thrown out, and the air was filled with the smell of rubber and lawn. He felt like his legs were like springs, and every step exploded with unprecedented strength, surpassing Shaoli and approaching Qiang. At the finish line, he stopped panting, his chest heaving, and the feeling of pleasure rushed straight to his forehead like soda bubbles. Qiang turned his head and his eyes widened. Boy, are you possessed by a leopard at the beginning? From a rookie to this, you are awesome. The team members gathered around, high fives broke out, and Juanqi laughed. I said, Xu Feng is a dark horse. At the sports meeting, Li Hao and his gang are waiting to be ashes. At the end of the training, Xu Feng wiped his sweat, his legs and feet were still shaking slightly. The remaining energy of the capsule made him energized, but he did not forget to study. During the morning break, he slipped into the study room and took out the preview cards, physical mechanics and chemical reaction formulas, from his backpack. As soon as I got the card, images flooded into my mind, force vectors pointing like arrows, molecular collisions exploding like fireworks. He was immersed in doing simulation questions, the tip of his pen rustling, and the sunshine outside the window shone warmly on his arms. Xiao Wei came over and whispered, Xu Feng, you've been amazing lately. The monthly exam scores are coming out soon, aren't you panic? Xu Feng smiled, why panic? Hard work will pay off. Come on, remember electron transfer for this chemistry question. Xiao Wei nodded, her eyes full of admiration. With balance, he found that learning was no longer a burden, but a pleasure. Like the pieces of a puzzle fitting together, confidence bubbled from the bottom of his heart. At noon, the class meeting bell rang, and the classroom exploded instantly. Students were pushing and shoving, and the air was filled with a buzz of anticipation and nervousness. Teacher Shui walked in, holding a stack of report cards in her hands, her eyes serious but gentle behind her thin-rimmed glasses. Students, the monthly exam scores are announced. Take a deep breath, winning or losing is not important, the process is wealth. She began to read names, and the classroom sometimes sighed and sometimes whispered. When it was Xu Feng's turn, his heartbeat was beating like a drum and his palms were sweating, as if he had returned to the examination room at that moment. Xu Wei's eyes swept over, Xu Feng, Mathematics 92, total score 85. The progress is amazing. The whole class was quiet for a second, and then a buzz broke out. Xiao Wei turned around and widened her eyes. 92? Xu Feng, are you cheating? The boy in the back row whistled, the counterattack king. Xu Feng froze in his seat, staring at the transcript. The numbers jumped like magic. 92? In the past, I struggled to pass the passing mark, but now I have excellent scores. The shadow of low self-esteem evaporated instantly, and was replaced by overwhelming confidence, like a hot air balloon taking off, feeling light and happy. He clenched his fists, and the cards in his backpack, the reflections in his diary, and the sweat of training flashed through his mind. This is not luck, it is the fruit of growth. I breathed a huge sigh of relief, as if 1,000 pounds of stone had been lifted off me, and my chest felt warm. As soon as the bell rang, he rushed out of the classroom and went straight to the playground. Junshi was already waiting there, spinning the basketball in his hand and smiling. How was it? Did you smash it? Xu Feng rushed over and hugged him with such force that the two of them staggered. 92. The total score is 85. Junshi, I passed the test. No, it's amazing. Junshi was stunned for a moment, then laughed, hugged him and spun around. The sweat and sunshine mixed together, and it was as warm as a brother's hug. Ha, buddy, I knew it. From a low self-esteem to a top student, this reversal is so cool. Come on, high five. The two high-fived loudly, and the surrounding team members heard it and came over to cheer. Congratulations, Xu Feng. Keep up the good work at the sports meeting. The hugging scene was lively, and friendship was like sunshine, lighting up Xu Feng's youth. He thought to himself, at this moment, the campus is no longer a stressful place, but a battlefield that belongs to him. After the self-study in the afternoon, Teacher Shui called Xu Feng to the office. The aroma of coffee filled the room, and the table was piled with test papers. She pushed up her glasses and handed over his report card. Xu Feng, sit down. 92 points, isn't it a fluke? I heard from Xiaowei that your diary is written in depth. Share it with me? Xu Feng hesitated, took out the booklet from his pocket, and handed it over. Shui opened the book and raised the corners of her mouth. Well, it's a good change from complaining to reflection. Growing up is not overnight, but reflection step by step. Well written. Congratulations on passing the monthly exam. But here comes a new pressure, the sports meeting. Record your expectations, not because you are afraid of losing, but how you face it. The diary is your mirror, help you take off the pressure and face the struggle. Her voice was as warm as hot tea. Xu Feng nodded, feeling grateful in his heart. Teacher, thank you. I used to passively wait for scores, but now I actively chase them. In the sports meeting, I have to keep my mind in mind, not only to win the game, but also to win myself. Shui smiled. Yes, go ahead. Looking forward to your legend. As the sun set, Xu Feng and Junshi walked side by side on the campus path. The wind blew by, bringing with it the fragrance of sycamore leaves. Junshi put his arm around him and his tone suddenly became serious. Xu Feng, congratulations on the score. But I can see in your eyes that you are still a little tense. The sports meeting is approaching, and Li Hao's provocation is stressful, isn't it? Xu Feng sighed and stopped. Yeah. It's great to have passed the test, but the training is tiring and I'm afraid of dragging the team back. There's still a long way to go from low self-esteem to self-confidence. She pulled him to sit down on a bench, and the sunset lengthened his shadow. He said in a low voice, Brother, I understand. Let me tell you a story. When I was in elementary school, my parents divorced and I changed schools 3 times. In the first sports meeting, I signed up for sprinting and fell at the start. The whole class laughed. I had such low self-esteem that I wanted to quit the team and hide at home to cry. Later, when I met you, a tough guy, we practiced basketball together. You said, if you lose, try again. Youth is not afraid of falling. That sentence saved me. Since then, I have taken the initiative to pursue my dreams and no longer hide. Xu Feng, your score reversed because you didn't run away. Now, the same goes for the sports meet. Friendship is not empty talk. I support you and the team supports us. Burning together, we will go against the fate of the campus. Got it? Junshi's words were like a flood, and the emotional support hit the bottom of his heart. Xu Feng's eyes were slightly moist, and he held his hand. Juanqi, thank you. This is the first time I heard your story. From loneliness to having you, this friendship is my backing. I am no longer afraid of the sports meeting, I will take the initiative to fight. The two stood up and high-fived, blood boiling in their chests. This middle climax is like a torch lighting up the night sky, the P. It was late at night, the lights in the dormitory were dim, and the snoring of my roommates was like background music. Xu Feng lay on the bed and took out his diary. The tip of his pen rustled and his handwriting quickly filled the page. The moonlight shines through the window, bringing tranquility. October 22nd, 2023. The monthly test scores came out, 92 points. Seeing the numbers, my inferiority complex disappeared, and my self-confidence soared like a rocket. From passively accepting low scores to actively loading up knowledge, this change is an inner transformation. The backpack is a tool, but the experience is mine. Previewing is not rote memorization, but pictorial, balanced learning and training, like running a relay, with a steady rhythm win. Juanqi's embrace was as warm as home, his story struck a chord with me. It turns out that we both fell down, but our friendship strengthened us. Teacher Shuhui's words were right. She wrote in her diary what she was looking forward to. In the sports meeting, I will not only fight hard with my legs and feet, but also my heart. From escaping pressure to pursuing glory, this deepening made me see clearly, growth is the initiative, and the fate of the campus is in my hands. Xu Feng, keep chasing. After writing, he closed the book and his chest felt relaxed. The growth trajectory is like a runway, moving forward step by step. The sports day is approaching, and the backpack is sitting quietly on the bedside, waiting for the next battlefield. The night breeze blew gently, and the campus lights flickered. He closed his eyes, and the passion of the stadium came to his mind. The dawn of reversal was close at hand. On the campus playground, colorful flags fluttered, the sun poured down like a golden waterfall, and the air was filled with the aroma of popcorn and grilled sausages, mixed with the noise of excitement. The sports meeting finally started. All the teachers and students of the school crowded the stands, and the loudspeakers echoed with exciting music and the announcers shouting, "Welcome to the annual school sports." The flame of youth, ignite the stadium. Xu Feng stood in the gathering area of the track and field team, his heart beating like a drum, and his shoulders were slightly painful due to the straps of his backpack. He wrote a diary again last night, recording his expectations for the game, but now, the heat of reality hit him, making his legs weak. The preliminaries were for the 100-meter dash, and he was the class representative. As soon as the list was announced, the classmates gathered around and patted their shoulders. "Xu Feng, come on. Counterattack in the monthly exams, and exercise will also torture them." Juanqi winked at the side. "Brother, remember the explosion during training? That kid Li Hao is glaring at you in the opponent's area, give him some color to show him." Xu Feng nodded, smiling on the outside, but inside he was in a state of confusion. The shadow of inferiority reappears again. What if I fall while running? What if the props fail and drag down the team? From being calm in the monthly exams to now on the playing field, he felt that the pressure was like an invisible net, pulling him down. He sneaked to the corner of the locker room, took out the bottle of speed enhancer from his backpack, and took a sip. The liquid is cool, and after it slides down the throat, warmth instantly rushes into the hands and feet, making the muscles feel awakened and full of elasticity. He took a deep breath and touched his backpack. Secret weapon, don't let me down. When he walked out, the sky was still as blue as a canvas, and the wind blew gently, bringing the fresh smell of the lawn. He lined up on the starting line, next to Li Hao from the next class. The guy was tall and powerful, with bulging muscles in his arms. He glanced at him and taunted him, "Newcomer? Don't be brave, so as not to be embarrassed." Xu Feng didn't reply, thinking to himself, "It's useless to talk too much, I'll show you." Gunshots ring out. Bang! Everyone was like an arrow, and Xu Feng leaned forward, feeling the wind whistling in his ears as soon as he took the first step. The red line of the runway flew by under my feet, sweat slid down my forehead, and the salty taste seeped into my mouth. At first, he was still gorilla in the middle, with Li Hao leading the way, like a ferocious beast. But the effectiveness of the enhancer was fully activated. At the 30th meter, he felt that his legs were like springs, and every step exploded with amazing power. His heartbeat quickened and his chest felt like fire, but images of training flashed through his mind. Junshi shouts, "Aqiang's trust." Beyond. He rushed to third place, his eyes locked on the top two. The wind roared, and the audience cheered like a flood. "Xu Feng! Go for it!" Xiaowei's voice came from the stands, sharp and enthusiastic. He gritted his teeth and swung his arms like pistons. In the last 10 meters, his potential exploded, and the cells in his body were boiling, like a wild horse running wild. Cross the line. First. The horn sounded. Xu Feng advanced to the first place in the 100-meter preliminaries in 11.8 seconds. The audience burst into applause. The students in the stands jumped up and cheered, ribbons flying, and the sense of glory was like a heat wave hitting their faces. Xu Feng bent over and propped up his knees, panting, sweat dripping down the track, and a sense of pleasure rushed straight to his forehead. He transformed from a fringe newcomer to the center of campus. The reporter-like announcer even shouted, "Xu Feng's counterattack is so inspiring." Li Hao stopped beside him, his face was ashen, and he walked away angrily. Xu Feng straightened up and clenched his fists. At this moment, his confidence was burning like fire. But before the excitement was over, the inner pressure came up again. He won the preliminaries, but the relay race was the highlight. He was the second battalion, connecting the previous and the next, linking one link after another. In the rest area, Junshi handed him a water bottle and patted him on the back. "Handsome. Dude, your final sprint is even worse than a leopard. During the relay, I will pass the first bat to you, hold on." Xu Feng drank water, the coolness relieved the heat, but he was still nervous. "Junshi, what if I make a mistake in passing the bat? The whole team is watching me." Junshi looked at him seriously. He pulled him to sit down. "Listen, since I was wrestling in elementary school, you pulled me up. The team does not carry it alone, but supports each other. Remember, your diary, growth is the initiative. When pressure comes, meet it." As soon as he finished speaking, the sky suddenly became gloomy, dark clouds were like ink splashing, and the wind became stronger, bringing a slight chill. The announcer exclaimed, "The weather has suddenly changed, it may rain. But the game continues, testing endurance." The team members talked a lot, and Aqiang frowned. Running in the rain is slippery, and it is difficult to pass the baton. Xu Feng's heart sank, and the pressure came like a mountain. The weather changed, as if God was testing him. From the sunny stadium to the muddy battlefield, his low self-esteem wanted to pull him back. The relay race started soon. There was drizzle on the playground, the track was slippery, and the air was filled with the smell of earth. The raindrops hit the skin like needles, the audience held up umbrellas, and the cheers from the stands were blurred. Xu Feng was in the relay area, his heart beating like thunder, rain sliding down his hair and into his eyes, blurring his vision. He watched Junshi take the first step, and the guy rushed out like the wind, his footsteps splashing with water, and his figure lengthened in the rain. In the passing area, Junshi rushed over shouting, "Catch it!" The stick was slippery. Xu Feng stretched out his hands, and felt fear for a moment. What should I do if it slips? But he took a deep breath, and the words in his diary flashed through his mind, from fear to courage. With a click of your fingers, the stick is firmly in hand. Warmth flowed from the remaining energy in his backpack. He turned around and exploded. The rain hit his face like a whip, and the track was as slippery as grease. Every step tested his balance. Shaoli is waiting for the third leg. Li Hao's class ahead is 5 meters ahead, and the pressure is like a huge wave. But the team shout came, "Xu Feng, hold on." He adjusted his breathing and lowered his center of gravity. His field of vision was narrowed in the rain, but he was clear in his heart. This is not a one-person race, but everyone's passion. Explode. He jumped out and surpassed his opponent for the second stroke. Water splashed everywhere, and the cheers of the audience penetrated the rain curtain, like drum beats. When it was passed to Xiaoli, he shouted, "Catch it and rush." Xiaoli took over, and the team shined like a chain. Junshi punched at the finish line. "We are first." The whole team crossed the finish line, hugging each other wet in the rain, sweat and rain mixed, blood boiling. The turning point was resolved, and the endurance test made the victory sweeter. Xu Feng felt that he had changed fro. On the sidelines, teacher Xu Hui walked over holding an umbrella. The drizzle hit her glasses, blurring them. She patted Xu Feng's shoulder, her voice warm and firm. "Xu Feng, that baton pass in the rain, steady. I looked at your eyes just now, are you doubtful? The monthly exam counterattack, the same goes for exercise. The pressure is like the weather, unpredictable, but your diary is an anchor. Write it down, from heartbeat to breakthrough, this is growth." Xu Feng wiped the rain and nodded. "Head, teacher, thank you." When the rain came, I was afraid of dragging down the team, but Junshi's words and reflections in the diary made me welcome it. The doubts were gone, and only confidence remained. Xu Hui smiled. "Okay, let's celebrate. The focus of the campus is not the end, but a new starting point." Her encouragement was like sunshine, piercing the rain clouds, resolving the last hesitation. The team members gathered around, and Aqiang laughed. "Xu Feng, you boy, the god of rain assists." Liao's face turned green. Xiaowei ran from the stands and hugged his arm. "Hero. The whole school is talking about your comeback." The sense of glory was like a tide. Xu Feng laughed, and his chest felt warm. The struggle of youth shines in the rain, and the blood goes straight to the bottom of the heart, making readers feel the unyielding flame. At the end of the game, the rain stopped, a rainbow appeared on the playground, and the air was as fresh as if it had been washed. Xu Feng and Junshi walked back to the dormitory side by side, their wet clothes clinging to their bodies, the coolness mixed with warmth. Junshi put his arm around, "Brother, it's a great day today. From leading in the preliminaries to passing the baton, the team shines, you are the MVP." Xu Feng nodded, his heart churning. When the pressure comes again, the diary is like an old friend, giving him a hand. At night, the lights in the dormitory were dim, and the roommates were still discussing the results of the game, chatting excitedly. Xu Feng lay on the bed and took out his diary. After the rain, the moonlight shone in outside the window, bringing tranquility. The tip of the pen rustles and the writing is rapid. October 25, 2023. The sports meeting opened, my heartbeat was thundering in the preliminaries, and my inferiority complex wanted to pull me back. But enhancers and training made me break out into the lead. When I crossed the line, the audience cheered, like a wave of glory, dispersing the haze. From the edge of the campus to the focus, this transformation is so cool. In the relay race, the rain suddenly changed, and the slippery track tested endurance. Fear creeps in. What if I make a mistake? Junshi passes the baton steadily. As soon as I started, the shouts of the team were like my backing. I went from fear to courage. I sprinted in the rain, and the victory was even sweeter. Teacher Xu Hui's encouragement resolves doubts. Stress is like the weather, changing. A diary is a mirror, recording your thoughts, from panic to breakthrough. This turning point, which enhances self-confidence, is not an external force but an inner initiative. Youthful struggle, blood is burning. Xu Feng, you are flying. The fate of the campus is being reversed. After writing, he closed the book and his chest felt relaxed. The trajectory of growth is clear, and the rainbow is like hope after the rain. The final was still to come, and his backpack lay quietly on the bedside, but he knew that the next step was to sprint even harder. The night breeze was blowing gently, the lights in the playground were still on, and the lingering laughter could be faintly heard, and the flames of youthful war were raging. The sun broke out from the clouds, like a golden sword piercing the haze after the rain. The wet track on the playground was still reflecting slightly, and the air was filled with the smell of soil and sweat. On the second day of the sports meeting, the semifinals kicked off, and the enthusiasm of the teachers and students in the school was like a powder keg, exploding at a moment's notice. Xu Feng wiped the sweat from his forehead and stood in the track and field team's rest area, with the residual warmth of yesterday's victory in the rain still echoing in his heart. But today is different. The semifinals are the 4x100-meter relay, a team event, and each stroke tests the tacit understanding. He looked at his teammates. Junshi stretched enthusiastically, Aqiang lowered his head to adjust his shoelaces, and Shaoli whispered tactics. The backpack is hung on the shoulder, which contains the recovery item that was stuffed last night, a bottle of energy recovery fluid, which can replenish blood at critical moments. But he was not in a hurry to use it. He remembered what teacher Shui said, tools are auxiliary, and the team is the core. Xu Feng, don't be in a daze. Today we are facing Li Hao and his gang. They lost miserably last night. They must be angry. Junshi came over and put his arm together. The force was so strong that Xu Feng staggered. Junshi's eyes were sparkling, like two little suns. Sweat slid down his eyebrows and dripped on the plastic floor. Remember, you take the second shot and I pass the first to you. Hold on, we can't lose the lead we had yesterday. Xu Feng nodded and smiled. Don't worry, buddy. My legs were weak yesterday, but they are full of blood today. As soon as he finished speaking, the radio sounded, 4x100 semifinals, the first group is ready. Class A versus Class B. Cheers broke out in the stands, students waved colorful flags. Xiaowei's voice was particularly harsh. Xu Feng, come on. The counterattack continues. Xu Feng took a deep breath, and his chest rose slightly. From the excitement of the individual preliminaries to the team relay, he felt that the responsibility was much heavier. When he had low self-esteem before, he just wanted to struggle alone. Now, every step affects the hearts of his teammates. At the starting line, the wind blew gently, bringing a bit of coolness. Junshi squatted down, leaning his weight forward, and his muscles were as tense as a bowstring. The gunshot bang, and he rushed out like an arrow, leading by half a body with the first shot, and small water droplets splashed on the runway before the water was dry. The audience shouted like a tide, Class A, go for it. Xu Feng was in the relay area, his heartbeat was racing, his palms were sweating, and his eyes were locked on Junshi's figure. When the stick came, everything went smoothly. He dunked it firmly, turned around, and exploded. In the second shot, he felt his legs were full of strength and the wind was whistling in his ears. He surpassed the opponents in Class B and his lead expanded to 2 meters. Cool. The feeling of taking the lead in pursuit is like riding the wind in waves, sweating out, and the smell of burnt rubber filling the air. When he passed the bat to Aqiang, he shouted, catch it, steady. Aqiang nodded and stabilized the rhythm with the third bat, but when Shaoli took the last bat, an accident happened. Li Hao from Class B was racing next to him, his eyes as gloomy as a wolf. He deliberately stumbled on the edge of the passing area, pretending to be unbalanced, and accidentally bumped his arm into Shaoli's receiving area. Get rid of the stick. Shaoli stumbled, the stick rolled 2 meters, and 3 seconds were lost in an instant. The audience gasped, and the cheers of Class's students in the stands turned into exclamations, what's going on? Junshi rushed over, his face ashen. Li Hao, are you playing dirty? Li Hao shrugged, pretending to be innocent. It was just a slip, the track is wet after the rain, who knew? The referee blew the whistle to warn, but the game continued. Shaoli picked up the stick to catch up, but was already 5 meters behind. At the finish line, Class B crossed first, Class A came second, and all their leads were lost. The team members formed a circle, and Aqiang punched the ground, causing dirt to fly. Damn it. It was just that one miss. Shaoli lowered his head, his eyes red. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it properly. Xu Feng gasped, feeling like a stone was stuck in his heart. The setback came too suddenly, from leading to falling behind. This was not a personal mistake, but a pain for the team. He looked at the downcast faces of his teammates, and an inner monologue flashed through him. We can't just admit defeat, individual heroes can't save everyone, we have to unite. The air in the rest area was as heavy as lead. The team members sat in a circle, dripping with sweat mixed with frustration. Junshi suddenly stood up, took a deep breath, and his voice sounded like thunder. Brothers, listen. That was a dirty trick just now. But winning or losing is not a matter of one stroke, it is our heart. Remember Xu Feng's counterattack? From the last place in the monthly exam to the first place in the preliminaries, he didn't rely on luck, he just worked hard. We, Class A, are not a bunch of nerds, but a passionate team. Li Hao wants to defeat us with little tricks. Get up, wipe your sweat, we will not only win the game, but also win people's hearts with me. Come? His words were like a torch, igniting the air. Qiang raised his head and clenched his fists. Junshi is right. Shaoli, don't blame yourself, we will remember that dirty trick. Be smart next time and avoid it. Shaoli nodded, his eyes brightened. Well, I won't hold you back. The team members high-fived, and the enthusiastic atmosphere instantly picked up. Xu Feng felt warm in his heart. Junshi's speech was not empty words, but the power of friendship. He pulled me up from elementary school to now pushing the whole team. This sense of responsibility made me see the value of the team clearly. While discussing tactics, Teacher Shui came over holding a small umbrella. The drizzle began to fall again, and the raindrops were like needles, hitting her shoulders. She pushed up her glasses and said in a steady voice, "Team members, I heard. That kid Li Hao is used to dirty tricks. But competition is the right way, and your hard work is the legend of the campus. Xu Feng, come on, listen to my advice. In the finals, don't go straight for the second bat, take a roundabout way, and avoid their passing area. Team understanding is the key, make eye contact when passing the bat, and keep breathing steadily. Isn't it stressful? But this is growth, face-to-face to deal with setbacks is not collapse, but reorganization." Her words were like a needle in the sea. Xu Feng nodded, "Teacher, thank you. We will resolve the problem with tact and not be fooled." Shui smiled and patted his shoulder, "Go ahead and write your diary. I'm waiting to see the ending. Youth is not about winning everything, but how you can afford to lose." She turned and left, her figure firm in the rain, and the character interaction was like a bridge, promoting the turning point of the plot. The team members began to discuss, and Qiang whispered, "It's a good idea to take a roundabout way. Xu Feng, you are second, take the lead in demonstrating." Xu Feng clenched his fists, "Okay, we will see the results in the finals." The shadow of the semifinals has not yet dissipated, and the preparation time for the finals has passed quickly. On the playground, the colorful flags were shaking in the wind and rain, and the cheers from the stands penetrated the rain curtain, like drumbeats. Xu Feng sneaked to a secluded corner, took out the energy recovery liquid from his backpack, and drank it. The liquid was sweet and astringent, and instantly turned into a warm current, replenishing Shaoli's fatigue and refreshing the whole team's spirits. He whispered to Junshi, "The secret weapon is installed. Give the recovery fluid to Shaoli to avoid dirty tricks. I'll be smarter." Junshi blinked, understood. The glory of the team depends on us. The gunfire sounded in the final, and the first group, Class A, faced off against Class B. The atmosphere was as tense as before a storm. Junshi took the lead steadily with the first stick. When he passed it to Xu Feng, their eyes met, detour, charge. Xu Feng nodded and took the stick. He did not charge in a straight line, but turned slightly sideways to avoid Li Hao's passing area. In the wind and rain, the rain slapped his face like a whip, but the warm current protected his body, and he unleashed his potential and took the lead in catching up. Class B took the lead, but Xu Feng's wit resolved the potential obstacle. Li Hao tried to slip and hit him again. He sidestepped one step earlier and surpassed his opponent with dancing steps. "Xu Feng, handsome!" screams erupted in the stands, and the whole school was excited. Qiang took over the baton steadily, and Shaoli took the last baton and roared to the finish line, "First." The key point is obtained and the lead is regained. At the finish line, the whole team hugged, rain and sweat mixed, and blood erupted like a volcano. Junshi laughed, "Reversal. Xu Feng, your detour, a stroke of genius." Qiang patted Shaoli on the back, "It's safe this time, the team is invincible." In the stands, the students jumped up, ribbons were flying, and the announcer shouted, "Class A came back to win." Xu Feng's wit won the hearts of the people. The campus was boiling, Class B's face was ashen, Li Hao walked away angrily, the frustration of the failed trick was written on his face. Xu Feng gasped, his chest bursting with pleasure. From frustration to climax, this reversal was more than just a point, it was a collective glory. The audience's applause was like waves, and the passion of youth made him feel that the fate of the campus was turning. After the game, the players sat around the rest area. The rain gradually stopped and the sun came out again. Junqi wiped his sweat. Man, this climax is so exciting. From losing to winning, it is the heart of the team. Xu Feng nodded, and the change in his heart was clear. I used to want to be a personal hero, and my backpack saved me. Now, I understand that the collective is stronger, and friendship and responsibility have deepened my self-confidence. He patted Junqi on the shoulder and said, "Thank you for your speech. We would have parted without you." Xiaowei ran over and hugged her arms. "Hero. The whole school is spreading the word about your cleverness in resolving dirty tricks. You are so inspiring." During the interaction, friendship was like a network, supporting everyone. At night, the lights in the dormitory were dim, and the laughter of my roommates was still in my ears. Xu Feng lay on the bed and took out his diary. The moonlight shone in outside the window, refreshing after the rain. The tip of the pen is scratchy and the handwriting is neat. October 26, 2023. The setback in the semifinals came. Li Hao made a cunning trick to let go of the stick, losing the lead, and his heart fell into an ice cave. From personal pleasure to team pain, this change hit me. When I used to feel inferior, I just wanted to counterattack alone. Now, I have a greater sense of responsibility. The loss is not one person's, but everyone's injury. Junqi's passionate speech is like a torch to wake up his teammates. Shu teacher Hui's strategy is to resolve obstacles with wit. The recovery liquid in the backpack played a key role, but what really won was the collective tacit understanding. I took the lead in chasing. That point was not a hero, but a team glory. From the individual to the collective, this deepens, making friendship a backing and responsibility a driving force. The inspiration of youth is not to walk alone, but to walk side by side. Xu Feng, you are transforming, the final is approaching, keep burning. After writing, he closed the book, his chest felt warm. The arc of growth is clear, and setbacks are like whetstones, sharpening the will. Outside the window, the playground lights flickered, the footsteps of the finals were faintly heard, and the campus reversed course and accelerated forward. The lights on the playground cast long shadows in the night, and the air after the rain was as fresh as the freshly washed blue sky, mixed with the aroma of rice from the distant canteen and the moist smell of the lawn. On the eve of the finals of the sports meeting, the enthusiasm of the whole school has not subsided. Students in the stands were in groups discussing the reversal of the semifinals. Someone imitated Li Hao's slip action, which caused a burst of laughter. Xu Feng was leaning on the bench downstairs in the dormitory, his backpack lying quietly on his knees, and his shoulders were aching from the straps. He took a deep breath and opened the zipper. The blue light inside was much dimmer than before, leaving only a few remaining knowledge cards and a small bottle of energy liquid. When I was trying to load new props last night, my backpack buzzed like an old cell phone with a battery that was almost dead, and nothing came out. Running out of energy? This secret weapon got stuck at the last moment? Xu Feng's heart sank, and the shadow of inferiority crept up again, rushing to his chest like a tide. From counterattacking in the monthly exam to taking the lead in the sports meeting, it all depended on this thing. Now that he has given up the challenge, how can he rely on to compete in the finals? An inner monologue flashed through. Don't panic, this is a test, from relying on external objects to burning on your own. Xu Feng. Are you in a daze here? The finals start tomorrow, go to sleep. Junqi's voice sounded from behind, like a passionate drumbeat. He strode over, holding 2 hot steamed buns in his hands. The hot steam hit his face, and the aroma of the dough filled his nostrils. Junqi sat down and stuffed a steamed bun. Eat, replenish your energy. We solved the dirty trick in the semifinals, but Li Hao will definitely hold back his big move. Come, let's discuss tactics and stay up all night. Xu Feng took a bite of the steamed bun, which tasted soft and glutinous. It made him feel a little more relaxed. Juanqi, there is something wrong with the backpack. The energy is almost gone. I just tried it and it can't fit new things. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold it for the second round tomorrow. He whispered what was in his heart, with a rare fragility in his voice. Juanqi was stunned for a moment, then laughed and put his arms together. Fool. The backpack is your secret, but the team is your trump card. Do you remember that basketball game in elementary school? I had leg cramps, and you carried me all the way. It's not a prop, it's your heart. Final tactics, I'll lead steadily on the first shot, don't go straight for the second shot, continue to take detours to avoid their obstacles. Aqiang controlled the rhythm with the third stick, and Shaoli finally broke out. We have perfect tacit understanding, passing the baton with our eyes, the track is slippery after the rain, our steps are gentle, and we breathe deeply. Imagine, when the gap is closed, the whole school cheers, it's so exciting that it burns people to death. Juanqi said while gesticulating and dancing. The fire in her eyes reflected on Xu Feng's face, like passing a torch. The two chatted more and more deeply, from starting positions to psychological tactics. The night wind blew and the sycamore leaves rustled. The friendship reached its peak in this all-night discussion. Xu Feng's heart surged with warmth. Junks. Early the next morning, the sun shone brightly across the playground, the colorful flags trembled in the breeze, the stands were packed with students, and the announcer's voice on the loudspeaker was exciting. The final is coming. For by 100-meter relay, Class A versus Class B, who will win? Xu Feng stood in the assembly area, his heart beating like thunder, his backpack hung on his shoulders, with only the remaining bottle of energy liquid left. He took a small sip, and the warmth flowed into his hands and feet, but it was much weaker than before, like a half cup of hot water, barely refreshing. The team members gathered in a circle, and Aqiang whispered, "Hold on, remember yesterday's tactics." Li Hao's eyes are fierce, don't be fooled. Shaoli nodded and clenched his fist, I am the last one, and I will never let go. Juanqi winked at Xu Feng, brother, look at me, charge. The air was filled with the smell of sweat and rubber. Xu Feng took a deep breath, and his heart was churning. The backpack is almost gone, relying on the spirit of fighting to hold on. From relying on props to being self-motivated, this transition made him feel like he had shed a layer of skin, light but tough. The final gunshot sounded bang. Juanqi rushed out like a leopard on the first shot, with steady steps and half a body lead. There were small splashes on the track where water droplets still remained. The audience cheered loudly, Class A, come on. Xu Feng was in the relay area, with sweaty palms and his eyes locked on the stick. Juanqi rushed over with a roar, okay, take a roundabout way. Their eyes met, and at that moment the tacit understanding was like an electric current, and the stick was firmly in hand. Xu Feng turned around and exploded, pushing his legs hard on the ground, but the effectiveness of the energy liquid only lasted 10 seconds, and then his muscles began to ache, as if they were being pulled by invisible ropes. The wind roared in my ears, sweat slipped into my eyes, and my vision was blurred. He gritted his teeth and flashed through his mind all-night-long tactics, turning sideways to avoid Li Hao's passing area. Li Hao's second-best follower tried to trip him up and stretched out his arm, but Xu Feng got out of the way early and his steps were as light as dancing. Although his speed was a bit slow, he made no mistakes. The gap widened to 3 meters. He felt his chest was burning and his legs and feet were heavy, but he shouted in his heart, hold on. It's not a prop, it's your heart. The audience's shouts became chaotic, and some people whispered, why is Xu Feng so slow? He is a prodigy in the monthly exams, but he is not good at sports. Misunderstandings were like a cloud, weighing him down. But here comes the twist. In the stands, Xiaowei suddenly stood up and shouted, Xu Feng is no good. He got 92 in the monthly test, and he went from being out of breath to leading in training. This is hard work. Class A, believe him. Her voice cut through the noise, and the surrounding classmates followed up, yes. Counterattack King, go for it. A boy in the back row explained, I heard about it. He used to have low self-esteem, but now he makes our class enthusiastic. The misunderstanding dispersed like fog, the support from the whole school came like a heat wave, and the applause and cheers were like a tsunami. Xu Feng, come on. The team is invincible. This emotional climax made Xu Feng's eyes moist, and strength surged from the bottom of his heart, filling him up like invisible energy liquid. He accelerated, swinging his arms like pistons, sparking with every step, closing the gap to 1 meter. When the baton was passed to Aqiang, he shouted, hold on, win. Aqiang nodded and controlled the rhythm with the third stick. Shaoli exploded with the last stick. Although Class B was fierce, Class A won with tacit understanding and crossed the line first. The whole place was boiling, ribbons were flying, and the announcer shouted, champion of Class A. Xu Feng's hard work, a campus legend. The team members hugged, sweat mixed. Junshi laughed, brother, you closed the gap, it's amazing. It's not the backpack, it's your heart. The sense of glory was overwhelming. Xu Feng felt that he had transformed from a boy to a hero, and he felt refreshed and rushed to his forehead. The whole school supported to resolve the misunderstanding, making the victory sweeter, and the youthful passion filled the field. After the game, the rest area next to the playground was very lively. Students gathered around and gave high fives. Xiaowei handed the water. Xu Feng, did you hear? The whole school supports you. Aqiang patted his shoulder, boy, from doubt to conviction, you are our MVP. But Xu Feng did not dwell on it for too long. His backpack suddenly trembled slightly, and the suspense of a prop malfunction came to mind. The energy liquid bottle was empty, the zipper was stuck, and the cards inside were yellowed, as if they were about to be scrapped. His heart tightened. I won the final, but my backpack is gone? Is this the end or a new beginning? The crisis solved the game, but left a small suspense, which reminded him, true struggle is eternity. In the afternoon, in Teacher Shuhui's office, sunlight poured in through the window, making the coffee cup shine. She pushed up her glasses and looked at Xu Feng's diary with a warm voice, sit down, champion. I saw the gap close in the finals from the stands. Your eyes went from tense to burning. This turn is good. Xu Feng sat down, the wooden chair was cool. He hesitated and said, teacher, the backpack, the energy is gone. I used to rely on it, but now I rely on myself, and I feel empty. Shui nodded and handed over a cup of hot tea, steam rising. I understand. Tell you my story, me in high school, like you, I feel inferior to mathematics and always panic in exams. Later, I had an old notebook, not magic, but a reflection written by myself. From relying on teachers to writing diaries to record my thoughts, that transformation made me become a teacher. Xu Feng, the same goes for you. The backpack is the starting point, now I write the final diary, from external objects to inner heart, this growth. Recording hard work is not about scores, but how to persevere in the face of exhaustion. Go ahead, this is your legend. Her sharing is like a mirror, reflecting Xu Feng's path. He nodded, and strength surged in his heart. Teacher, thank you. I wrote that the transition from dependence to self is true growth. At night, the lights in the dormitory are dim and the snoring of my roommates is like the background. Xu Feng lay on the bed and took out his diary. The night breeze outside the window brought with it the residual warmth of the playground. The tip of the pen rustles and the writing is rapid. October 27, 2023. On the eve of the finals, the energy in my backpack was exhausted, like a lamp that was out of power, and I was so flustered. I felt inferior. How can I fight without props? But Junshi spent the whole night discussing tactics, and friendship was like a torch. He pushed me to see clearly, tacit understanding wins over props. When the final started, the energy fluid only lasted 10 seconds, my legs were as sore as lead, the gap widened, and misunderstandings came again. Some people said I was bad. But the whole school, the support was like a wave, Xiaowei's shouts pierced the center, and the emotional climax was burning. I closed the gap, not by external force, but by inner struggle. Teacher Shuhui's story is right, from dependence to self, this transformation allows self-confidence to take root. Prop malfunction? There is a small suspense, but the crisis is resolved in the event, and true passion is the way to go. Youth reversal, campus glory, in hand. Xu Feng, you flew. After writing, he closed the book and his chest felt relaxed. The growth trajectory is clear, from backpack to heart. This deep transformation makes him look forward to the final conflict. Outside the window, the stars twinkled, the campus lights flickered, and the aftermath of the reversal was still spreading. The air on the playground is like ignited gunpowder, the heat wave is rolling, and the sunlight is shining directly, making every pore feel the burning heat of youth. On the final day of the sports meeting, the 4x 100-meter relay finals, all the teachers and students of the school crowded the stands, colorful flags were hunting in the wind, and the announcer's voice on the loudspeaker was trembling. Class A versus Class B, the final showdown. Who will win the championship trophy and light up the campus legend? Xu Feng stood beside the starting area, his heart beat like a war drum, pounding directly into his chest. The tactical discussion last night was still echoing in his mind. Junqi's words were like fire, keeping him awake all night. The backpack was hung on his shoulders, and the bottle of residual energy liquid inside was his final trump card. He touched the bottle, and the coolness seeped into his palms. Can this thing hold up? From the calmness of the monthly exams to the current competition, he feels that the competitive pressure on campus is like an invisible mountain, overwhelming him. But he took a deep breath and looked at his teammates. Junqi's eyes were as firm as iron. Qiang lowered his head to adjust his breathing, and Shaoli clenched his fists and whispered, "Stay steady. The team is not loose sand, it is a chain, and every link must be burned. Xu Feng, remember, pass the baton with your eyes. We have practiced it since elementary school, and our tacit understanding is invincible." Junqi came over and whispered, putting his arm on his shoulder. Sweat had begun to seep out, and the warm touch felt like a brother's hug. Xu Feng nodded and smiled to hide the tension in his heart. "Brother, you take the lead in the first shot, and I will pull away in the second shot. Don't let Li Hao's dirty tricks succeed, let's use our strength to torture him." As soon as he finished speaking, the referee raised the flag, and the gunshot bang made his eardrums buzz. Junqi was like a wild horse, charging out with the first shot. The dust was flying on the track with his footsteps, and the wind was roaring in his ears. He was half a body ahead, and Li Hao from Class B held on tight. The cheers from the audience were like a tsunami. "Class A, go for it." Xu Feng was in the relay area, his palms sweating like rain, and his eyes locked on the stick. Junqi rushed over with a roar, "Okay, take a roundabout way." Their eyes met, and the tacit understanding was like lightning, and the stick was firmly in hand. Xu Feng turned around and exploded, pushing his legs hard on the ground. Warmth flowed from the remnants of the energy liquid, and his muscles instantly tightened like a bow. But the effect was much weaker, and it could only last 20 meters. After that, the pain came like a tide, and the legs and feet were as heavy as lead weights. The premonition of wind and rain came true. The sky suddenly became gloomy, drizzle began to fall again, and the track was as slippery as oil. Li Hao's second-best follower deliberately stumbled sideways and stretched his arm over the edge of the track, trying to hit him. Xu Feng's heart tightened, and the dirty tricks of the semifinals flashed through his mind. Don't be fooled. He turned sideways and stepped lightly to avoid it, but the rain hit his face like a needle. His vision was blurred, and he couldn't help but slow down by half a beat. Class B widened the gap, 3 meters, 5 meters. The shouts of Class's students in the stands became anxious. "Xu Feng, come on. Don't fall." Xiaowei's voice was particularly sharp, penetrating the rain curtain. "You can do it, counterattack king." But the pressure was like a huge wave, and Xu Feng felt that his chest was packed with panic. The backpack was almost gone, the team was in a desperate situation, and the opponent was leading by more than half. Is this champion about to fly? The shadow of low self-esteem loomed over him, from failure in elementary school to low self-esteem in high school. He gritted his teeth and thought, unable to fail, this is the fate of the team. When passing the baton to Qiang, he shouted, "Pull back, buddy." Qiang nodded and controlled the rhythm with the third baton. but Class B already had the advantage. Li Hao was 8 meters ahead with the last baton, and the whole audience gasped. The desperate situation was like a black hole, and the team members' faces were ashen in the end area. Qiang gasped and said, "It's over, that bastard Li Hao is trying to speed up, we can't catch up." Shaoli lowered his head, hit the ground with his fist, and water splashed everywhere. "I'm sorry, I was the last, the pressure is too much." Juanxi turned to look at Xu Feng. The water slid down his face, but his eyes were on fire. "Don't panic. This is not the end, it's a turning point. Xu Feng, remember your diary? From inferiority to a leader, we are on fire. Coach, make a substitution." An unexpected turn came, and the referee allowed an emergency stick change. Shaoli sprained his foot, and Xu Feng temporarily took the last stick. The whole place was buzzing, Class B's jeers were heard, and Li Hao shouted, "A new person? You don't know what you can do, you will lose." Xu Feng's heart beat loudly, and he took the stick from Qiang's hand. At that moment, he squeezed out the last drop of the energy liquid and swallowed it mixed with the rainwater. The warmth is as weak as a candle flame, but the personal passion is like a strong wind, igniting the whole body. He took a deep breath, and all the processes flashed through his mind: the formula for the monthly exam, the reflections in the diary, the sweat of training, and Junxi's hug. "This is not a prop, it is your heart. Run. Xu Feng, cross the line." Junxi trotted side by side, not playing but like a shadow escort, roaring through the rain. "We have never lost our hearts together, from elementary school to now." His words were like a backing. Xu Feng's footsteps burst out, the runway was slippery in the rain, every step was like stepping on the tip of a knife, but he was clear in his heart: the trust of the team is infinite energy. The gap is 8 meters, 7 meters. The wind and rain are howling, sweat and rain are mixed, and the salty taste seeps into the mouth. He adjusted his breathing, leaned forward, and swung his arms like pistons, transcending the shadow of Class B. The stands were boiling, and Xiao Wei took the lead in shouting, "Xu Feng, surpass him. Class A is invincible." The whole school followed, with thunderous applause. Reversal. The blood is burning. Li Hao was in the front, his expression changed from pride to shock. He looked back and saw Xu Feng approaching, and his steps were chaotic. 6 meters, 5 meters. Xu Feng felt the pain of muscle tearing, but his blood overwhelmed everything, and he monologued in his head, "From a boy with low self-esteem to a leader now, this is my youth." 4 meters, 3 meters, the finish line was in sight. He unleashed his final potential and shot out like arrows. The wind roared and the audience cheered. Beyond. Xu Feng crossed the line, first. The time is 0.5 seconds faster than Class B, Class A is the winner. The whole place went crazy. Ribbons were flying and loudspeakers were screaming, Class A won the championship. Xu Feng's sprint to the finish line was a miracle. The team members rushed forward and hugged each other, rain and sweat mixed together, and blood erupted like a volcano. Junxi was the first to hug Xu Feng, spinning around and laughing, "Brother, your sprint is flying. Fighting side by side is so exciting. From desperation to championship, this is our legend." Qiang slapped his back, "Boy, you were the last stick and saved us. The team's transformation is all because of you are a leader." Xiao Li's eyes turned red. "Thanks, Xu Feng, the pressure has been relieved. I will follow you from now on." The sense of glory was like a tide, Xu Feng panted, and his chest was extremely satisfied. From a personal counterattack to a team leader, this transformation made him feel that the destiny of the campus had been completely reversed. The pressure of competition disappeared like smoke and was replaced by the applause of the whole school. The students in the stands jumped up, Class B bowed his head, Li Hao walked away in anger, and the shadow of the evil trick was forever crushed by the blood. On the sidelines, teacher Shu Hui came over holding an umbrella. The drizzle hit her glasses, blurring the lenses, but her tears shone like stars. She held Xu Feng's hand, her voice trembling but firm. "Xu Feng, watching you tense up from the start to your explosion at the finish line, I am proud of the teacher. I saw the side by side in the rain, Junxi's roar, and your thoughts. Campus competition is not about stepping on others, but igniting each other. Write your diary, this is a circle. Full starting point. Her tears were like warm sunshine, highlighting the warmth of the interaction. Xu Feng nodded, with a sob in his throat. Teacher, thank you for being strict at the beginning and for the tears now. This blood does not belong to one person, but to everyone. Shui smiled and wiped the corners of her eyes. Go and celebrate, the legend of youth will spread from here. The celebration was held in the center of the playground, with the golden trophy shining brightly. The whole school formed a circle, and the announcer shouted, Xu Feng, MVP. His hard work resolves the pressure on campus and allows us to see the light of growth. The students high-fived, and Xiaowei handed over a towel. Ying Feng, MVP. Xiong, you not only won the game, but also won the heart. Xu Feng laughed, his chest felt warm, and he felt like the afterglow of an orgasm. Personal transformation and team glory were intertwined, and the ultimate satisfaction made him feel flying. Junshi put his arm around, brother, let's carry the trophy. From inferiority to leadership, this journey is worth it. The twists and turns resolved everything, the loss of the lead in desperate situations, the depletion of backpacks, and the stumbling blocks of cunning tricks, all were overthrown by passion. The plot moved towards perfection, and the campus was like a new life. At night, the lights in the dormitory are dim, the cheers of my roommates are still echoing in my ears, and the night breeze outside the window brings the residual warmth of the playground and the fragrance of grass. Xu Feng lay on the bed and took out his diary, his hands trembling slightly, and the tip of the pen covered the page with rust. The moonlight shines in, illuminating the writing as clear as an inscription. October 28, 2023. The climax of the final, the team was in dire straits, the opponent was 8 meters ahead, and my heart was as cold as ice. The last energy liquid in the backpack could only hold 20 meters, and the slide in the rain, the stumbling blocks, and the pressure were like a mountain collapse. But Junshi's roar side by side, like a brother's torch, pushed me to take the last stick. The whole school cheered, Xiaowei shout, resolve the misunderstanding, and let the blood overwhelm the inferiority complex. The moment when I sprinted to the finish line and surpassed Li Hao, I burst into glory. From inferiority complex, a boy who hid in a corner and complained about exams has now become a confident leader, leading his team to turn around. This major breakthrough is an inner transformation. Teacher Shui's tears were as warm as an anchor. Campus competition is not about fighting alone, but about burning each other. The journey of the games, from the miracle of picking up a backpack to the perseverance when exhausted, marks my growth, no longer relying on foreign objects, relying on hard work to prove the value of youth. Xu Feng, you did it, the fate of the campus has been completely reversed. After writing, he closed the book and his chest felt as relaxed as if his armor had been removed. Growth turns like a rainbow across the field. Outside the window, the starry sky was shining brightly, and the lights on the playground were gradually extinguished, but the residual flame of passion was still blazing in my heart. The legend of youth has just written a new chapter. The sun shines down from the arches of the campus square, like a golden veil, covering the closing ceremony of the just concluded sports meeting. There are still fragments of ribbons and traces of footprints on the playground, and the air is filled with the mixed smell of sweat, lawn and popcorn, which reminds people of the bloody reversal in the rain. Carrying the dusty backpack, Xu Feng squeezed out of the group of team members, his heart still buzzing. The championship trophy was heavy in Junshi's school bag. The two of them high-fived in celebration, laughing and gasping. Brother, this champion is our youth legend. Junshi wiped his sweat and his eyes were as bright as light bulbs. Xu Feng nodded, his chest feeling warm. From the day he picked up his backpack to the desperate sprint in the finals, the journey was like a roller coaster, with repeated crises, but he became increasingly brave as he fought. He looked down at his backpack, the zipper was slightly loosened, and the cards inside were as yellow as before. The exhaustion of energy felt like a small farewell, which made him sigh with emotion. This secret weapon has accompanied me from low self-esteem to this point, and now it's time to let go. After the closing ceremony, campus life felt like pressing the reset button. Students discussed the game in small groups. Some imitated Xu Feng's sprinting posture, which caused a burst of laughter. Xu Feng slipped back to the dormitory and lay on the bed, replaying the whole process in his mind, the miracle when he picked up the backpack on the side of the playground, the nervous heartbeat when handing out the monthly exam papers, the surprised eyes of the classmates in the study room, the sweat and dizziness during training, the slippery crisis of passing the baton in the rain, to the desperate situation of the 8-meter gap in the final. Every turn was like a piece of a puzzle, from a crane hiding in the corner to a leader leading the team's reversal. Cool. But behind the happiness is inner transformation. He touched his backpack and decided not to hide it anymore. This thing was not just a prop, but a starting point. It had to be shared openly so that everyone could see the essence of hard work. A few days later, the campus auditorium was brightly lit and the commendation ceremony kicked off. The air was filled with the fragrance of flowers and the smoke of candles. Teachers and students crowded the seats, buzzing with whispers like a honeycomb. Xu Feng was sitting in the front row, and Junshi poked his arm. "Are you nervous? I heard that you won the Best Sportsmanship Award and you have to go on stage to give a speech." Xu Feng smiled, and his heartbeat accelerated slightly, a little, "But this is an opportunity, so I have to speak my mind." On the stage, the school principal, a long and loud voice, said, "Student Xu Feng not only counterattacked in the monthly exam, but also led the team to win the championship in the sports meeting." His fighting spirit lit up the campus. With thunderous applause, Xu Feng stood up and walked steadily onto the stage. The spotlight hit his face hotly, like a party fire. He took a deep breath and held the microphone. "Hello, classmates and teachers. I am Xu Feng. I used to be that guy who was terrible at math. I always felt that campus was very stressful and I had low self-esteem like a snail hiding in its shell. Before the monthly exam, I picked up an old backpack. I thought it was a waste. Unexpectedly, it was like a secret partner. It helped me pack knowledge cards, energy props, and formulas. Make it simple and run more powerfully. But then, it ran out of energy, and I almost collapsed in the finals, losing the lead, being slippery in the rain, stumbling around. Everything was a crisis. But I didn't fail because of the team. Junshi's roar, Aqiang's trust, Shaoli's persistence, and the shouts of the whole school made me cross the line from a desperate situation. This backpack is not magic, it is a reminder: growth depends on oneself. Youth is not about scores or trophies, it is about facing inferiority and taking the initiative to fight. Thank you everyone for allowing me to transform from a supporting role in the legend. After the commendation was over, Junshi took Xu Feng and went straight to the school's after-exercise celebration party. A tent was set up in the open space, colorful lights flickered, tables were filled with kebabs, soda drinks and cakes, and the air was filled with the scent of cumin and sweet cream. The team members and classmates formed a circle, music roared, someone set off fireworks, and the crackling sound filled the night sky. "Champion party, let's get started!" Junshi shouted as he raised his glass, which was actually a soda bottle, and everyone clinked their glasses, foam splashing everywhere. Xu Feng was pushed to the middle and sat down while laughing. Junshi came over and whispered, "Brother, praise that speech, awesome. Is it easier to tell the secret of the backpack?" Xu Feng nodded, took a bite of the skewers, the meat juice burst out, and was hot. "Yeah, I was afraid of being regarded as a freak before, but now I think it is right to share. What about you? Finals, how do you feel when you yell at me side by side?" Junshi put down the bottle, his eyes became serious, and the night wind ruffled his hair. "Let me tell you, in the years since my parents divorced in elementary school and when I transferred to another school, I had a very low self-esteem and always felt that I was redundant. After I met you, I was playing basketball, skipping classes, and making trouble. You pulled me up and said, 'I lost. Come again.' During the sports meeting, I watched you go from panicking in the monthly exam to having a blast in the finals, and my heart was filled with excitement. Friendship is not about playing around, it is about supporting each other. Xu Feng, if you turn the campus around, I will burn with you forever." There was rare affection in his words. Xu Feng's throat tightened and he held his hand. "Junshi, thank you. You are not a best friend, our brothers. From being alone to being with you, this confidence is all due to the two of us working side by side. After the party ended, Xu Feng sneaked back to the dormitory alone. The street lamps lengthened their shadows, and the night wind brought distant crickets chirping. Teacher Shui suddenly walked out of the office building, her thin framed glasses flashing under the light. She waved. "Xu Feng, wait a minute." I listened to the commendation speech. "Backpack secrets, shared frontally, well done." Xu Feng stopped and felt warm in his heart. "Teacher, why haven't you left yet?" Shui smiled and handed over a new diary booklet with a cover as blue as the sky. "I'm sure it's your habit." From the tension of the monthly exam to the crisis of the sports meeting, the diary will record your thoughts and let you go from there. From panic to calm. This is not a tool, it is a mirror. Final exams are approaching. Are you stressed again? Keep writing. From crisis to legend, this transformation enhances the depth of your heart. The value of youth is not to win everything, but to grow through reflection. Her words were like hot tea. Xu Feng took the booklet, his palms were slightly sweaty. "Teacher, thank you for changing from strict to affirmative. At the end of the period, I will use my diary to consolidate and not panic anymore." Shui nodded, turned and left, her back as firm as a beacon. Xu Feng felt grateful. This interaction resolved the last trace of doubt and made the growth more rooted. In the dormitory, the lights were dim and the snoring of my roommates was like background music. Xu Feng lay on the bed and took out a new diary booklet. The tip of his pen rustled and his handwriting quickly filled the page. The moonlight shines through the window, bringing tranquility. November 5, 2023. The sports meeting is over. Looking back on this road is like a passionate dream, from the miracle of picking up the backpack, to the calm counterattack in the monthly exam, the sweat of training, the crisis in the rain, the desperate situation of the final. Every step is transformation. When the energy of the backpack ran out, I panicked, feeling inferior and wanted to pull back the old shell, but Junqi's side by side, the trust of the team, and the shouts of the whole school made me burn. Sharing secrets in the commendation speech is not the end, but the starting point. Talking to each other at parties, the friendship is as deep as the roots. Teacher Shui affirms the diary, this habit is my anchor. Final exams are approaching, and the pressure is like an old friend knocking on the door again. Formulas are piling up and time is tight. But things are different now. From crisis to legend, I have learned to take the initiative. Preview is like a puzzle, and reflection is like a mirror. This turning point enhances the inner self. The value of youth is not about external magic, it is about proving oneself in the face of inferiority. Xu Feng, you are ready, consummation is in sight. After writing, he closed the book and his chest felt relaxed. He has a clear path of growth. From a boy to a legend, this profound transformation makes him full of expectations for the end of the term. But there is a hidden conflict in the middle. The pressure of exams is still there, and although my backpack is empty, my heart is full. He closed his eyes, and the lights of the campus appeared in his mind, the flame of youth, waiting to be finally burned out. The campus in winter is covered with a thin layer of frost, and the sun breaks through the clouds and shines on the glass windows of the teaching building, reflecting colorful light. The bell for the final exam had just rang. Xu Feng closed the last page of the test paper, took a deep breath, and the familiar tension in his chest receded like a tide. The air in the classroom was still filled with the smell of pencil dust and ink. The students stretched in twos and threes, some sighed, and some chuckled. Xiaowei turned her head and blinked. "Xu Feng, are you stable this time?" From the sports meeting champion to the top student, you are simply a campus superman. Xu Feng smiled, and the pen in his hand was still warm. Stable is stable, but it is not a superman. It is spelled out. I have memorized the formulas, and my mind is filled with reflections in the diary. He looked down at the test paper. The images of physics and mechanics and the steps of chemical reactions were as clear as old friends. Without the aid of cards from his backpack, he relied entirely on his own preparation and review this time. Under the light of night, he wrote down formulas over and over again, recalling his persistence in training over and over again. The exam process was as smooth as a sprint on the track. From the slight heartbeat at the beginning to the calm answer later, every question fit together like a puzzle. When he handed in the paper, he felt much more relaxed, like taking off his winter clothes and welcoming the spring breeze. On the day the results were announced, there was an explosion in the classroom. Teacher Xu walked in with a stack of red test papers. Her eyes behind her thin-rimmed glasses were filled with rare softness. "Students, the final exam is over. Thank you for your hard work." Xu Feng, 95 in mathematics, with a total score of 92. From the bottom of the class in the second year of high school to the top now, this progress is the pride of the campus. Proud. The whole class was quiet for a moment, and then applause broke out. Xiaowei was the first to jump up. "Xu Feng, you have reversed it again. Monthly exam 92, higher at the end, inspiring." The boy in the back row whistled, "Legend. Sports champion and academic champion, the fate of the campus depends on you." Xu Feng stood up, his face was slightly red, but he looked directly at everyone. "Thank you. But it's not just me, it's the team. Junshi pushed me to practice running, Aqiang taught me tactics, and your shouts made me excited. The same goes for learning. From inferiority to self-confidence, it is the journey of journaling." His words were like a warm current, and the atmosphere in the classroom it became heated, and the classmates' whispers turned into discussions. "Yes, Xu Feng's diary, I heard it is very inspirational." The exhilaration of passing the exam surged up like a heat wave, and Xu Feng's heart was churning, from the nervous heartbeat under the exam paper to the current calmness. This reversal is not just a score, but an inner victory. Although the backpack is empty, the spirit of exploration it symbolizes has been engraved in my bones. A few weeks later, at the class meeting, Teacher Xu handed Xu Feng a book with a blue cover, with Youth Diary, From Inferiority to Legend printed on the cover. It was a collection of his diaries, from the first day of picking up a backpack, to sprinting in the rain at the sports meeting, to reflections at the end. The teacher pushed up his glasses and said in a clear voice, "Xu Feng, this diary is not only your story, but also a mirror for the class. From complaining about inferiority to recording growth, every page is full of passion. I suggest that it be circulated to the whole class and used as an inspirational teaching material. Whoever is stressed should see how Xu Feng turns the campus around." The students' eyes lit up, and Xiaowei was the first to grab it and open it. "Wow, here it says pressure changes like the weather, the diary is an anchor. It's too deep." Aqiang nodded, "The part about the sports day will burn you as you read it. Xu Feng, the fighting spirit you brought has benefited the whole class now. In the past, everyone was immersed in studying, but now with the addition of sports elements, the campus vitality is bursting." Junshi slapped the table and laughed, "Yes. The diary is written into a book, and new soul is injected into the campus. Xu Feng, you boy, from fringe to leader, this book should be printed in the school newspaper." As the booklet was being circulated, laughter and sighs intertwined in the classroom. Some people whispered about their inferiority complex, and some promised to practice running tomorrow. Xu Feng looked at everyone with warmth in his chest. The diary is not just a personal record, it is a fire that ignites the fighting spirit of the class. The campus is no longer a cage of competition, but a field of growth. The reversal he led penetrates every corner, from study to sports. Cool. This collective recognition was as heavy as a trophy, making him feel that the value of his youth was magnified. Time is like the wind on the playground, and the graduation ceremony of the senior year of high school is coming in a blink of an eye. The lights in the auditorium were bright, flowers surrounded the podium, and the air was filled with a touch of sadness of farewell, mixed with a buzz of excitement. Teachers and students were dressed neatly in school uniforms and sat packed to the rafters. The sun set outside the window, lengthening the shadow of the campus. The principal came to the stage with a loud voice, "Today, we celebrate the transformation of youth. Classmate Xu Feng, come up and share that your diary has become a campus classic." With thunderous applause, Xu Feng stood up, his heart beating slightly faster, but he walked steadily onto the stage. The spotlight shone hotly on his face. He took a deep breath and held the microphone. "Teachers and classmates, 3 years ago, I was the inferior self-esteem ghost who was bad at math and hiding in the corner. When the exam came, my heart beat like a drum. Sports meeting? Not to mention. Until I picked up that old backpack, it was like the key to inner exploration. It contained knowledge and props, allowing me to fight back from the monthly exam to the finals. 92, from training out of breath to champion in the rain. But when the energy in the backpack ran out, I panicked. The 8-meter gap was a desperate situation, there were stumbling blocks, it was all a crisis. But I didn't fail, because of everyone. Junshi shouting side by side, Teacher Shuhui's diary mirror, your shouts make me burn. Opening this youth diary, every page is filled with thoughts, from inferiority as a locked chain to struggle to prove value. The campus is not a pressure mountain, it is a stage. What we have reversed is not only our destiny, but also our spirit. Graduation, take this passion and move forward. He read out a few passages from his diary, his voice was sonorous, the auditorium fell silent, and then burst into waves of app. At the end of the ceremony, the afterglow of the setting sun filled the playground, and the red clouds burned like fire. Xu Feng and Junshi walked side by side on the runway, their footsteps moving in a brisk rhythm, and the wind blew by, bringing the fragrance of the lawn. Junshi put his arm around him and said with reluctance, "Brother, we graduated. From the day we picked up our backpacks to the finals, these 3 years have been like a passionate dream. Remember before the end of the semester, I said, friendship is forever? Now, after being admitted to college, we still have to fight. Let's reverse the basketball game and the game of life together." Xu Feng stopped, the sunset stretched their shadows, and he shook hands holding Junshi's hand, his eyes were slightly moist. "Junshi, thank you for pulling me up from elementary school and pushing me to fly now. Without you, there would be no such legend. Friendship is not the end, but a new starting point. See you in college, keep fighting." The two high-fived, and their laughter echoed on the runway, as warm as the sunset, emphasizing the perfection of growth from loneliness to side by side, which is a harvest for the soul. Not far away, Teacher Shui walked over, her tall figure elongated in the afterglow. She pushed up her glasses and handed over a small gift box. "Xu Feng, congratulations on graduation. This is a blank diary, continue to write your legend. From the strictness of the first year of high school to the pride now, watching you go from a panic boy to leading the school to inject hard work, teacher has also grown up." Xu Feng took it, and his throat tightened. "Teacher, thank you. My diary habit as you taught me, to not run away from pressure is what you reflect in the mirror. From the stressful monthly exams to graduation sharing, this journey is all dependent on your guidance. In the future, I will remember, growth is reflection, youth is advancement." Shui smiled and patted his shoulder. "Go, bring your passion and light up the university. Campus is always your starting point." She turned around and left, her back blending into the sunset. Her warm farewell was like a gentle breeze, resolving all the sadness of separation and making the perfection deeper. Xu Feng stood alone in the middle of the playground. The sun was setting and the red light filled the runway. He touched his backpack, that old thing that symbolized inner exploration, now as light as an empty shell. He decided to move on, without props, only with his thoughts. From low self-esteem to youthful legend, this transformation made him face the future with a smile. The campus bells rang softly, and the wind blew, bringing new laughter. Xu Feng turned around with firm steps. Under the setting sun, his smile, like an inspirational torch, would never go out. The flame of youth burns into the endless distance.